to silence him. They erased his name. But he rebuilt from nothing. He fought every algorithm. They tried again and failed. Now he's back, stronger. From blackout to spotlight, he's at the White House, at the top of his game. Franchi lives.
You are about to enter another dimension, the dimension of truth, unfiltered and uncensored. Welcome to the Raw Feed with Gary Franchi.
Welcome to the Raw Feed. I'm Gary Franchi, coming to you live from the heart of America. Unfiltered truth to millions on YouTube. Hit those donation links below. Every contribution powers our gear. Every contribution keeps the party going. Help me help you. Hit those donation links. YouTube channel memberships. Special acknowledgement in the fellowship. Your super chats keep me standing. Your rumble rants fuel every round.
Say hello to super chats.
Spread the intel. Every repost extends our reach.
Super chats fuel this spectacle. Your rumble rants give me strength.
24/7 members only community, behind the scenes discussions.
Connect with fellow patriots.
My mama always said, life is like sharing the truth. Text this stream to your friends. What if I told you the app is real? Download the Next News Network app. Android users, take the Google Play path. iPhone users, App Store awaits.
The establishment media won't tell you this, but we're witnessing the complete breakdown of their carefully constructed narrative in real time. I'm Gary Franchi. This is the Raw Feed. Now, before we dive into tonight's bombshells, let's remember what happened on this date in history. I'm talking about actually yesterday, January 27th, 1973, marked the signing of the Paris Peace Accords, officially ending American involvement in Vietnam. It was supposed to bring peace, but like so many government promises, it delivered something entirely different. The lessons that day echo louder than ever as we watch another administration navigate the treacherous waters of public trust and political promises. Speaking of trust, tonight we're going to show you exactly how deep the corruption runs and why certain people are getting very nervous about what's coming next. We got 5 stories that will make your blood run cold, and every single one of them connects to a bigger picture the mainstream media refuses to acknowledge. First up, we're taking you inside a story that's being buried faster than you can say cover-up. A private jet went down in Maine. The passenger list reads like a who's who of anti-ICE legal activists. But here's what they don't want you to know. This crash happened right as a nationwide network of violence against immigration enforcement was reaching a fever pitch. We've got the flight records, the corporate documents, and the connections that will make you question everything you're being told about this so-called accident. Then we're heading to Minnesota where something remarkable just happened. Remember Tim Walz? The same guy who let Minneapolis burn while he played political games? Well, he just had a very interesting phone conversation with President Trump, and the details of that call are fascinating. We're going to break down exactly what was said, what it means for the anti-ICE resistance movement, and why certain mayors are suddenly changing their tune when the cameras are not rolling. Our third story involves numbers so staggering you'll need to sit down. We're talking about a fraud investigation that's about to expose how $19 billion, that's billion with a B, disappeared in just one state. The DOGE team's been busy, and what they've uncovered about certain congresswomen's business dealings will leave you speechless. We've got the financial documents, the property records, and the paper trail that lead straight to the heart of Washington's money laundering operation. Next, we're examining why the United States stands completely alone among world democracies when it comes to election security. While every other major nation requires identification to vote, we're still pretending that asking for ID is somehow racist. Yes, the SAVE Act, it's gaining momentum, and the opposition's arguments are falling apart faster than the house of cards. We're going to show you exactly which countries require what and why their resistance to basic election security measures tells you everything you need to know about who benefits from the current system. And then there is Hollywood with a story that raises more questions than answers. Sweeney allegedly scaled a Hollywood sign and covered it in bras to promote her new lingerie line. The internet exploded, outrage everywhere, charges threatened, but wait, the Hollywood sign is one of the most heavily monitored landmarks in America. Cameras, sensors, security around the clock. So where is the arrest footage? Where are the witnesses? Why the clips look more like a production than a crime? Was this real, or was it carefully crafted illusion designed to hijack headlines and prove that the machine can still manufacture reality whenever it wants? Tonight we dig into the evidence and we let you decide. Now, each of these stories connects to a central theme: the complete collapse of institutional credibility and the desperate attempts by certain people to maintain control as their world crumbles around them. From the Maine crash sites to Minnesota phone calls, from billion-dollar fraud schemes to basic voting rights, from Hollywood stunts to government cover-ups, we're going to connect every single dot. The truth is out there, but you won't get it from CNN or MSNBC. You'll get it right here, unfiltered, unafraid. So buckle up, because the show today is going to be a wild ride through the stories they pray you'll never hear. So let's get started and welcome you to the show. James Fay and Sub Sailor and Karen Finley, Kevin Holland, Jerome Schickler, Pothead Kenny. We got Sarah in the house, Ron the Don, Mrs. Pothead Kenny. Everyone's filing in. Yes, sorry about last night. We didn't do a show. I got just too ahead of myself with administrative work and was not able to pull it together. So just want to say thanks for your support, and we're here now picking up the slack, and God willing, we'll have another show for you tonight, so don't you worry. We are here, and we are busy, and we are not stopping. Yes, a lot of action on the ground in Washington, D.C. today. We've been monitoring every action from the White House, so we'll have all those updates for you later today, so make sure you don't miss that show. And want to just say hello to everybody. We got Sir John and Bella and Shardidit and Vicky. Sure, you in the house. What's up? Good to see you. And who else is here? Melissa and James and Todd and Jeru and Karen. Everyone's in the house. So we're going to go ahead. Hopefully we can maybe we'll hit our numbers tonight or today. And then we'll for our super chats right now, no super chats to speak of. That's fine, but we have to get the news out of the way so that you can make the informed decisions for yourself and your family. Brian, let me just get this thing all queued up over here, and then we can get started. Okay, I'm ready. A private jet carrying prominent anti-ICE lawyers crashed in Maine, killing all aboard. These weren't just any attorneys. They were the same firms pouring millions into elections while openly bragging about representing illegal immigrants. The timing couldn't be more suspicious as anti-ICE violence explodes nationwide. Now, this goes way deeper than a tragic accident. We're talking about law firms that spent over $11 million trying to influence our elections, including Republican primaries. So think about that for a second. Liberal lawyers getting rich off illegal immigrant cases, then using those profits to manipulate conservative elections. Kurt Arnold bragged about winning the largest settlement for an undocumented worker in U.S. history. His firm dumped $10 million into a PAC last year alone. Meanwhile, networks of anti-ICE activists are coordinating on encrypted apps, making death threats against federal agents. When the people fighting our immigration laws start dying in mysterious plane crashes, you have to wonder, is this connected to the escalating violence? Are we witnessing the unraveling of a massive coordination effort? Now, this is where it gets interesting because we have to talk about what really matters most. Let me tell you about our friends at Noble Gold Investments. If you're over 40 and planning to retire someday, the window to protect what you have built may be smaller than you realize. So here's a question most people never ask. Is your portfolio built for what's coming next? Many investors in their 40s and 50s discover they have little to no exposure to precious metals. That means their savings are literally tied to markets, policies, and paper assets, with very little protection if conditions change. As retirement moves from someday to on the horizon, protecting what you've already built becomes just as important as growing it. That's where Noble Gold Investments comes in, helping investors reduce risk by adding physical gold to their portfolios. So right now may be a smart time to talk with Noble Gold Investments. No pressure, no sales gimmicks, just clear answers and a strategy built around your goals. Visit nextnewsgold.com and build your portfolio for the long term. That's nextnewsgold.com, or call that number on the screen. Now back to this developing story that has all the makings of something much bigger. Yes, here's what makes this even more interesting. The plane belonged to KTKJ Challenger LLC, registered to Jason Itkin and Kurt Arnold. These same lawyers were actively working to undermine immigration enforcement while profiting from it. Their websites literally advertise services for undocumented individuals, and now they're dead, and anti-ICE networks are going silent. Is that a coincidence? Well, we're going to dive deep into this, but first I want to get into the president's remarks talking about Tom Homan and the actions that he's doing on the ground.
Tom is fantastic. Tom is a tough guy, but I've watched over the years, and he's gotten along with governors, and he gets along with mayors. Some people don't. Some people just want to do their job and leave me alone. And that's sort of okay, too. That's generally been okay. Most of them are happy. Memphis, Tennessee, very tough, very straightforward. We're taking the criminal out. We're getting him out, either putting him in jail, because some are so bad that you don't want to send them to where they came from because you're afraid they're going to come back. Mm-hmm. They're murderers. So some are very down and straight, and others, Tom, I've noticed, as tough as he is, he gets along very good with governors and mayors. Now, I spoke to the mayor and to the governor yesterday, and they want to see it cleared up. I believe.
They want to see it cleared up? Yeah, well, after Trump's praise of Tom Homan, we're going to see exactly why the tough guy reputation is causing massive pushback in the streets. Here's more from the president.
Is this a pullback?
I don't think it's a pullback. It's a little bit of a change. Everybody in this room that has a business, you make little changes. Bovino's very good, but he's a pretty out there kind of a guy. And in some cases, that's good. Maybe it wasn't good here. But you have to understand, when I watch some of the people that I've been watching over the last few weeks, these are paid insurrectionists. These are paid agitators. These people aren't normal, like OG, that, they're incensed about anything. How do you get incensed when you go into a state and you're taking criminals out? You're taking monsters out, murderers. We had 11,888 murderers let into our country by other countries, by Biden with his open border stupid policy. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. You talk about bad policy. Open borders where people were coming, so the whole world, the Congo, Venezuela, all over the world, they're letting people in from their prisons and they're feeding them into the United States. And they're murderers and they're drug dealers and they're everything else you can think of, every bad name you can think of. And they let them in by the millions. We closed the border. We have nobody coming into our country anymore.
Yeah, it's interesting. He mentions Greg Bovino. As you know, he has been relieved of his post. Now, Trump's claiming tactical adjustments in Minnesota, but the opposition isn't buying the little changes spin. They are, in fact, mobilizing. Here's more from the president.
We have the best numbers in the country, lowest crime numbers in the history of our country. You know, Minnesota's in the news a lot, but what they don't say is that Minnesota has low numbers because of the fact that we took thousands of hardened criminals out of Minnesota. So they had good crime numbers, believe it or not. And that's all working out. You know, we have Tom Homan there now. We put him in there. He's great. And they met with the governor, the mayor, everybody else, and we're going to de-escalate a little bit. But I will tell you, you look at the numbers, they're doing better than they've done in many years because we took thousands of criminals out of Minnesota. You look at Washington, D.C., it was a very dangerous place a year and a half ago. Now it's as safe as you can get. You can walk your family down the middle of the street. Nothing's going to happen. You know, it's right. We got rid of over 2,000 hardened criminals. Many of them let in through the open border policy of Sleepy Joe Biden. It was not a good. That was not a good policy, Will.
That was an intentional policy to destabilize the United States on behalf of the globalists. Let's continue. The president's victory lap about removing criminals sets up the explosive backlash we're seeing from the activist networks. Here's more from President Trump.
Remember, we secured the border. Crime is down all over the country. We just had a crime report coming out from, I think, one of the networks, which they hate to hear this, but crime is the lowest number ever recorded. So, you know, when they say, and you know, we talk about Minnesota, but in Minnesota, you probably read, their crime is way down. You know why? Because we took out thousands of criminals out of Minnesota, and that's why it's good. So anyway, but we have Tom Homan is over there. We all love Tom.
Yeah.
And he met with the governor, met with the mayor. He's going to meet with the mayor, I guess, and it's going very well. But remember this: even Minnesota, their crime is down, and you know why it's down? Because of what we did. We took out thousands of criminals, career criminals, bad criminals, people that came in from Venezuela. By the way, how did we do in Venezuela? Not bad, right? But people that came in Venezuela, think of it, people that came in from countries all over the world. They came from the Congo. They came from all over South America, all over Latin America, all over Africa. They came from everywhere. And they came out of prisons in many cases. They came out of mental institutions in many cases. And we're getting them out, and we got a lot of them out. But we have now the safest country we've ever had.
The safest country we've ever had. Trump's love for Tom Homan is about to be tested as we dive into the coordinated resistance machine. Here's President Trump more at that diner that he went to.
Why did you decide to shake up your leadership team in Minnesota and send Tom Homan?
I do that all the time. I shake up teams. Everybody here, these are a lot of owners of farms and places, and you shake up your team. If they can't do the crops fast enough, they go. Look, we have an incredible team. We did something that nobody said was possible. We didn't go back to Congress and ask for legislation. We closed the border. And in the last 8 months, they have, and this is actually hard to believe, nobody crossed the border, right? Nobody. They say nobody. I don't even know if that's possible. But, you know, it's Democrats that do the report. It's a very liberal group that does that report. It's a very important report. And for 9 months, I guess 8 months, 9 months, we have nobody coming into our country unless they come in legally. We want them to come in legally. You need people to work for you. But we did something that I would say people thought that was absolutely impossible, and we were able to do it. So we're very honored by what's happened to our country. In addition, we have $18 trillion coming in, building plants, building auto factories, building AI factories. Like no other country in the world has done what we've done in the last year. And I think it's the most successful first-term president. There's never been a year like this in the history of the country. For a president.
Amen. Did you guys hear that in the background, the music playing? The Eye of the Tiger, how appropriate. Well, Trump celebrates his most successful first year back. The anti-ICE movement is launching their most aggressive counteroffensive yet. Liberal women are back protesting ICE in Minneapolis, blocking traffic with Stop ICE signs. Here's Higgsfield's video on this. Oh, my God.
Oink! Oink! What the? Oink! 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 You gotta be kidding me. Oink! Oink! Wow.
Yeah, how appropriate They're crawling on the street, and it's freezing temperatures. And look, they don't even have gloves on. I mean, and they're all with blue hair and pig noses. But I guess that's appropriate for their physique, I should say. The Minneapolis protests are just the visible tip. We're about to expose the much darker threats that are brewing beneath the surface. Here's President Trump talking about the big investigation into Alex Preddy.
Do you believe that Alex Preddy's death was justified?
Well, you know, we're doing a big investigation. I want to see the investigation. I'm going to be watching over it. I want a very honorable and honest investigation. I have to see it myself.
Have you watched that video?
Yes.
Is Kristi Noem going to step down?
No.
The president of Venezuela said that she is not taking orders from you. What do you have to say about that?
Well, I don't know exactly what's going on there, but I haven't heard that at all. No, we have a very good relationship.
What about
I'd like to see interest rates go down. Everything else is going down. We have the...
So he's asked about Kristi Noem. He's asked about the investigation. And of course, the investigation is going to come back and show that it was self-defense. But from the street protests to the death investigations, the violence is escalating rapidly across multiple fronts. Here we have Officer Lou, the Lincoln Project co-founder Rick Wilson, openly called for Stephen Miller to be hanged. He's now whining that a Secret Service knock isn't enough. He wants real consequences for anyone who dares to speak out. Conservatives are done with the double standard, are they? Yeah, well, the Lincoln Project is no conservative group. They are rhino. And this guy is probably one of the worst of the worst. If you remember, he was the one, I believe, who called for Trump's assassination, too, on MSNBC.
I want Stephen Miller to be the first one who is tried and convicted and fucking dangles. Okay? I want him to be brought before a court of law because he is the sole executive that runs all this DHS ICE stuff. The ICE Stapo.
Yeah. Good luck with that, dude. You know, you can only use your hatred against Trump for so long. And this guy's really made a career out of it. Death threats against Stephen Miller show how the anti-ICE rhetoric is turning into direct calls for violence. Wall Street apes. Wow, American attended an event, and it turned out to be a training event for ICE protesters. It was held at the LGBT Center in Hampton, Virginia. They're training people to resist ICE, and this is where all the whistles come from. Even worse, the real reason that Virginia training events reveals the sophisticated infrastructure behind what looks like spontaneous protests. And we have this, an anti-ICE maniac leaving threatening messages in an ICE agent's voicemail. Bubble Bath Girl writes, ICE needs to protect their identities by wearing masks because lefties are insanely immoral. Listen to this.
You're a fucking fascist pig. You should fucking kill yourself. I hope your wife dies. I hope your mom and dad die. I hope everything wrong that could go in your life happens. You should kill yourself. You're fucking disgusting. I hate you. Everyone hates you. You're a fucking murderer, and all of your friends are fucking murderers.
Wow.
Your reaction to that?
Yeah, my reaction, well, I'll tell you, that was played on Fox News, just so you have context. People leaving horrific voicemails, and I don't even know how to say it, but the threats prove the isolated incidents are they're a systematic campaign of intimidation that is targeting federal agents. Here's more from Fox News, a developing element. Criminal acts, anti-ICE agitators arrested outside a Minnesota hotel on Monday after authorities said the demonstration was no longer considered peaceful, prompting officers to declare an unlawful assembly. It took them long enough. Yeah, if you recall our reporting at that same hotel just the other day, the ICE agents who were there were saying, where are the police? How come they haven't stepped up? Well, it looks like they finally decided to step up, but the Minnesota arrests show local authorities now finally drawing the line. However, federal officials are facing even more extreme threats from politicians. Here's Eric Swalwell vowing to prosecute ICE agents as governor of California. Good luck with that.
But I also call on governors, Kate. Governors have immense powers. And I have said that when I'm governor of California, if you wear a mask in California, you're losing your driver's license. If you have worked for ICE in the past, you are unhireable in our state. That law enforcement will prosecute you for kidnapping, battery, assault, murder on the people in our communities. We have to go on offense as governors.
Yeah, good luck with that, buddy. Just a couple of years ago, you were demanding everybody wear masks. Swalwell's prosecution threats in California demonstrate how this anti-ICE campaign has infected the highest levels of government. Here's Greg Price. Check this out. Arlington, Virginia County Board Chairman Matt D. Frenetti tells residents to call 911 if they see ICE in their community. Democrat politicians now encouraging people to use emergency services to track ICE. Unbelievable.
To do everything possible within it to protect our neighbors and reduce harm. That means working together to call 911 when we see ICE in our community. Calling 911 is important because it helps us know when ICE is in Arlington so that we can better pursue Arlington County's law enforcement mission, preventing violence in our community. And it also helps us know they have no legal requirement.
What a joke, dude. You're going to call 911 when you see ICE carrying out the law to prevent violence? The only violence is coming from radical leftists who are assaulting and blocking and obstructing their efforts to enforce the law, buddy. Virginia's 911 strategy shows how Democrat officials are weaponizing emergency services against federal law enforcement. And now we have this from Tom Homan putting the fear of God into Minnesota leftists. He's launching a database of his own on the insurrectionist clowns stalking and attacking ICE, full names, faces, and the works. They're going to contact their employers. Oh, this is nice.
This job and these people who want to say follow ICE, and film ICE, you know what? You can protest. They have that right. But when you cross that line, and we've proven it, if you interfere or impede or assault an ICE officer, you will be prosecuted. And one thing I'm pushing for right now, Laura, we're going to create a database. Those people that are arrested for interference, impediment, assault, we're going to make them famous. We're going to put their face on TV. We're going to let their employers in their neighborhoods, in their schools, know who these people are. Because as you said, a lot of these people, they say they're taking time off work to protest. I bet you a lot of them are calling in sick. I bet you a lot of their employers don't know what they're doing. But we're going to make sure everybody knows who they are. We're going to broadcast. They want to broadcast the ICE officer that was nearly killed all over the internet. We're going to broadcast every one of these people we arrest.
Let's go. Let's go. Make them famous. Homan's database threat is the administration's first major counterpunch against the growing insurgency. Here's Brandon Straka, Walk Away movement. He's got a clip here with Scott Jennings talking about what the president's been up to.
I'm looking at what the president has done today. Number one, he spoke to Walls. Number two, he spoke to the mayor of Minneapolis. He spoke to Fry. He's clearly trying to get them to acquiesce to his very, very... Paul raised, why are there so many Border Patrol and ICE agents in Minneapolis? It's a simple answer, because they will not cooperate with federal officials. In Minneapolis, Jacob Fry, the mayor, has made it clear they will not cooperate and they will not let ICE or Border Patrol into the jails like they do in so many places. So is the immigration crisis in Minneapolis? No. In fact, most of the immigration that's going, or the deportations going on in this country are actually happening in red states. But there are illegal aliens in Minneapolis. They are being protected by the Democrats who run Minneapolis. And if Jacob Fry and Tim Walkley cooperate as the president and as they have been begging for weeks, then you wouldn't have this massive presence in Minneapolis. You don't have chaos anywhere else in the country, nowhere else except Minneapolis. And what does Minneapolis have that nobody else has? Walls and Fry, and a failure to cooperate, and them out radicalizing their constituents, comparing this to the diary of Anne Frank, calling it the Battle of Gettysburg. Come on. That is not responsible rhetoric. So for whatever you want to say about Stephen Miller or anybody else at the White House, the local politicians have responsibility to be more measured in their own rhetoric and to simply cooperate with the federal government. Good
Well,
for
I mean, speaking.
Yeah, just cooperate. They're not Nazis. It's not Gestapo, but that's the language of the left. Well, Trump talks diplomacy with local officials. The evidence shows the conflict is far from over. Melissa Tate posting ICE is under siege by a well-funded, coordinated, violent leftist insurgency. Under no circumstances should ICE and the Trump administration de-escalate. This is a Marxist color revolution being waged in Minnesota, and it must be treated that way. Insurrection Act now. Let's see what she has to say.
Oh, bet.
Turn off the car. Get out of the car! Get out of the car! Get out of the car! Now! 299, she almost struck me. Get out of the car! Shots fired!
Oh my God.
Show your hands! 299, Metro, she struck me. Shots fired.
And we're supposed to feel bad for people like this. We're supposed to have empathy and sympathy and cry and make RIP posts for people like this who are intentionally trying to harm officers, law enforcement officers. And you mean to tell me that you don't think these people will be the first and should be the first to go into these institutions if they were to open? I'm supposed to remove all logic and rationale from my mind and think that these people are okay. You intentionally try to kill this officer, harm this officer severely. You are willing to lose your life, proudly it seems, willing to lose your life for illegal immigrants and for the Democratic Party who has convinced you that you are doing the righteous thing. But you have governors like Tim Walz who are hiding behind their gates and their big mansions, rooting you on. That's what you, that's the smart thing. That's your mindset, huh? And I'm supposed to think that you're okay in the brain? You guys hate Trump that bad that you are willing to see bloodshed around our nation over people who are actually enforcing the law. See, you're not used to a president who's enforcing the law. You're used to being coddled and being able to do what you want to do and commit crimes and get a pat on the back. See, you're seeing what real law enforcement is all about. You're seeing what administration is all about when they follow the law. What are you, a fucking kamikaze? Y'all willing to just risk your own lives for people who are trying to protect you. You just, and you don't think, yeah, you're slow as hell. I mean, the only thing that's left to say is funeral home's going to make a lot of money off of you guys. You know. You're willing to die, that's what you want. So, I guess keep doing what you're doing, I guess.
Yeah. That's the left for you. The call for the Insurrection Act shows how serious some view this coordinated resistance campaign. Minneapolis protesters memorializing Alex Preddy. Alex taught us to be brave, chanted at the Amy Klobuchar office. Unreal.
Alex taught us to be brave!
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 We're not cold, we're not afraid! Alex taught us to be brave!
Alex taught us to be brave!
We're not cold, we're not afraid!
We're not cold, we're not afraid!
Alex taught us to be brave!
Alex taught us to be brave!
Liberation!
Yeah, that's about as much as I can take there. Another one here, a vigil singing Abolish ICE to a religious hymn. Protesters now adapting when the Saints go marching in for anti-federal chants at a memorial. The same crowd that stormed a church last week is now borrowing hymns for their protest songs. Okay, yeah. From memorializing Alex Preddy to the next revelation, the martyrdom is fueling Even more extreme actions. New York Post reports Chicago teacher placed on leave after a Facebook post supporting ICE sparks outrage from activists. Wow. So you're in Chicago, if you make a post on Facebook, you're placed on leave if you support ICE. Yeah, that's where we're at now. The Chicago teacher persecution shows how the intimidation campaign extends beyond Minnesota's borders. And now we have Melinda, a healthcare worker at VCU Health, posts a series of videos encouraging people to inject ICE agents. Oh my. I don't even know what that is, but it's apparently you can see it on the screen. Oh, you read it. Read it yourself. She also encourages women to go on dates with agents. Oh my. I am not even going to play this because it is so toxic. Yeah, sorry. But she is the healthcare worker whose plot just goes to show how far some are willing to go. And we have this, the mayor of West Chicago, Daniel Beauvais, slamming a teacher who made the post supporting ICE, says he spoke with the teacher to educate them on why it's wrong to support ICE and called the district to pressure them to take action. This is the guy.
Many of you know that this week there was an incident where an employee at one of our schools in District 33 made a social media post cheering on the activities of ICE. And it was extremely hurtful and offensive to many people in our community. And let me just, first of all, explain why that is so hurtful and offensive.
Yeah, I want to know why.
People have asked.
I want to know why.
Don't teachers have First Amendment rights?
Yeah, don't they? I thought they did.
Political opinions? And yes, of course they can.
Mm-hmm.
Teachers can have political opinions. They can express their political opinions in appropriate ways. What makes this different is this.
Okay.
This school district, the school where this happened, we have multiple students who have lost their mom or dad in the last few months in these ICE raids.
Okay.
We have
Were they illegals?
Students who go home fearful every night, wondering if their mom or dad is going to be there. We have kids having panic attacks.
Well, that's horrible. I mean, of course, we don't want that to happen to these kids. But sadly, but justly, decisions have consequences. So if the parents are here and they're here illegally, then, you know, they are at risk. And they made that decision when they came here. Let's be very clear about that. So that terror and that fear stems from the parents' own decisions. Not because the law exists, but because the parents decided to break the law. So spare me the sob story here, buddy. Yeah, West Chicago. Good luck with that, dude. The West Chicago mayor teachers hunt demonstrates the systematic nature of the ideological purge. And then we have this from Benny Johnson, CNN host, hosted a leftist who says ICE is going to start putting people in ovens. He writes, let's make this clear. Yes, we must arrest the terrorists attacking ICE. We must investigate the funders. Yes, government officials must be held accountable. What's this? This guy, really? With a pink hat, of course.
I understand that, but they take people to Fort Snelling here, which literally was built as a concentration camp, and Alligator Alcatraz, which I think we can all agree is a concentration camp. Not saying they're Dachau. I'm not saying they're putting people in ovens yet, but these are concentration camps.
Okay.
I don't need to argue with you about
that.
Even Jake Tapper's like, hold on a minute. Even your rhetoric's a little bit much. But this shows how the mainstream media is amplifying the most inflammatory ICE messaging. Tom Homan, Bulldog. This is why Tim Walz and Jacob Frey are caving, because he takes no BS. Here he is on MSNBC's Morning Joe program.
I see on the show this morning you have Governor Healy talking about ICE doing enforcement operations at a church. False. Didn't happen.
They were parked there. They did not do an operation there. She said they were parked in a public space legally.
But to say that and to push that out there puts fear in the immigrant community. So let me tell you what's happening.
To do that puts fear in the community.
Right.
To park the ICE agent's vehicle
They're on a
near
public
church.
street.
They
They're
are
on a public street.
She said
They're on a public
that,
street
sir.
waiting to respond to a criminal alien release pulled aside the road. Let me tell you, in the last couple of days, what's happened in Boston. They arrested Victor Gomez Perez, the 33-year-old criminal alien from Guatemala, with charges of aggravated rape, assault and battery with dangerous weapon, indecent assault and battery on a victim 14 years or younger. They arrested Kaylee Espinosa, a 33-year-old criminal alien from Colombia, with charges of aggravated assault on a pregnant victim. They arrested Joshua Gonzalez, a 23-year-old criminal alien from Dominican Republic, with charges for trafficking heroin, morphine, opium, resisting police, disorderly conduct, and drug distribution. They also arrested Samuel Armando Barrero, a 20-year-old criminal illegal alien from Guatemala, pending charges for assault and battery on a child. So Mayor Wu and Governor Healy, they ought to be calling ICE and thanking them for making their streets safer, for protecting their communities and taking these people off the street. They've turned a blind eye to this. They're sanctuary cities. Sanctuaries, cities and sanctuary states are sanctuaries for criminals. Give ICE access to the jail to arrest a bad guy in the jail rather than have to go in the community to find them. Because when you go in the community and find them, it puts ICE officers at greater risk. It puts the community at greater risk. It puts the alien at greater risk because anything can happen on the street risk. This is what we're trying to do. We're trying to prioritize public safety threats when you got governors and mayors who are releasing these public safety threats every day into the community. That causes the crime rate, and we've seen some terrible incidents in the last few days where innocent victims are murdered. This past year, I've seen innocent Americans raped and murdered by people who are not supposed to be here. So rather than going back and forth and say, well, ICE has got a car parked near a church, that is ridiculous. You're out there looking for people like this, exactly what they're doing.
Well, I would argue that.
Yeah, keep arguing there. But it's not going to do any good because the law is going to get enforced and they can park wherever they want on a public street. Homan's response is set up the bombshell revelation about who's really funding the operation. Kash Patel says he's identified who is funding it, but cannot yet publicize it because they are investigating.
And I saw some announcements just this morning.
No, we are going to defend absolutely your right to peacefully protest under the First Amendment. And we're also always going to uphold your right to bear arms in the Second Amendment. That's never changed. We're going to equally protect all of those. The only thing we're not going to do is allow any of those amendments to be violated when you pursue a course of action of violence against law enforcement. It's that simple. That position has never changed. So on January 14th, we referenced a mob literally rioted and destroyed federal police vehicles. Of course, we jumped into action. We caught and arrested 4 individuals responsible for breaking those vehicles apart and dismantling them completely. But I have an update for you. In that vehicle was not just firearms, which thankfully we recovered, but was information about law enforcement, federal agents, and their personal information. Individuals used that personal information on the ground to issue threats of life against not only FBI agents, but their wives and their children. So just last night, the FBI arrested one of the individuals responsible for making those threats to federal law enforcement. And we're going to have more arrests on that same matter today and tomorrow. We're not done. And that's the distinction. You want to go out there and peacefully protest, have at it. You want to go out there and use your Second Amendment right to bear arms, okay, no problem. But look at the situation in Minnesota. This is not something that just happened overnight. They've been rioting recklessly, destroying federal vehicles, ramming federal agents, literally hitting them, striking them, and as you just highlighted, using coordinated attacks to threaten their families. None of that is lawful. And none of that will be tolerated. You do not get to touch law enforcement. And we've got also investigations ongoing into the funding of this. We've made actual substantial progress. I just can't publicize it yet. But we've actually found groups and individuals responsible for funding it because it's not happening organically.
Nope, it's not happening organically. It's being funded by the Soros networks. The funding revelation leads us to the shocking discovery of which politicians are directly involved. Here's a scoop from Libs of TikTok. Minnesota State Rep. Brad Tapke is personally sending out the invites for the anti-ICE watch group on Sign Up Genius to coordinate the doxing and harassing of ICE agents. Here's the guy. So we have officials there coordinating. And from funding to direct participation, a sitting state rep personally coordinating a harassment campaign. Here's Sarah Fields 2 weeks ago. She says that she reported that Minnesota Representative Alex Falconer and Representative Brad Tapke are operating private networks that dispatch activists to ICE operations. She said, when I first reported on this, I'm not sure everyone understood the full weight of it, so I'm reposting again. So she posts the logs here, the dispatch logs that apparently she has created. I think there's video here. Let's see. This is Sign Up Genius. I'm not familiar with the platform, but apparently somehow it is able to be accessed in a public record. Not too familiar with that. Citizens of Minnesota, she continues, are being organized, led, and emboldened by Democrat leaders to patrol and report on ICE activities leading to the violence we have witnessed over the last few days. Sarah's 2-week-old scoop about legislative involvement is about to get much more explosive with new evidence. Let's see. This guy says his girlfriend is in the Minnesota Signal Group.
Viral posts claim Minnesota state officials and political actors were admins or participants in private Signal group chats coordinating protest response tied to ICE enforcement and unrest. What nobody wants to say is this looks like government officials working behind the scenes with activist groups. At the same time, Minnesota is dealing with widespread fraud scandals involving public funds, and this shifts the media spotlight. So it feels less like transparency and more like narrative management. And there's a big fight going on right before our eyes between the state and local governments versus the federal government. And the admins of the chat, Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan, so it's right to the top. One of Tim Walz's senior advisors.
Right at the top.
So it's not just all of these blue-haired crazy people. There's a lot of organization. The organization comes from the government. Everyone knew that they were being organized and they were being funded by somebody. It's funny that it's being funded by the government and organized by the government. And
oh my God,
it sounds
like sedition to me. The Minnesota Signal Group just got infiltrated, and what they found will shock you. Penny Flanagan on a Signal Group doxing federal agents. Not shocking. Here's video last week showing how half of her town hall walked out to impede federal law enforcement and how she encouraged others to do the same.
We were just in the community of Alexandria, where the event that we had that was similar to this one was interrupted by a bunch of phones going off and people having to leave because they are trained legal observers. Being trained legal observers, I don't know if anybody's gone through that training here. If you have, I appreciate it and would encourage you to do so.
Our neighbors are being disappeared. P.S. Without due process, it is just called kidnapping. Then show up and use your voice. Put your body on the line and put your body on the line. And
put your body on the line. And that's what people are doing. And then, well, they're obstructing ICE. They get snared in the process. And we've already seen 2 people dead. So the blood is definitely on Peggy Flanagan's hands. Her Signal participation proves this goes all the way to the Lieutenant Governor's office. Signalgate is what Cam Higbie's calling it. A minute of scrolling through Southside Minneapolis Rapid Response ICE Chaser Signal Group. You can see them actively checking plates, call intersection, and chase agents. This is organized obstruction. Cam Higbie's infiltration exposes the sophisticated tracking and coordination system that they've built. Here's Walt Wisdom. Higbie exposing the Signal Group. They have different roles they play. Database of plates and cars that track ICE. They're very, very organized. Check this out.
Cam Higbie just exposed the Signal group chat that all these protesters in Minneapolis have been using to communicate with each other. I know many of us have always thought it's so strange how these people can just flock to all these different locations in the city so fast. The left tries to say it's like organic. Oh, they're just showing up for their community. This is literally just names of people in this chat. Hundreds of names of people communicating with each other. Like, it just keeps going. Like right here, we're only at K right now. This is how many names are in this list. They have these little symbols next to their name in this chat to show what they do in this movement. So you have license plate checkers, dispatch, mobile patrol. Here they have an actual place where you can put in people's license plates that you suspect could be ICE. If you see a vehicle that just happens to look like an ICE vehicle, you can put it in, and a bunch of other protesters will see it eventually and just harass the shit out of them. One of the last things he showed was this message saying, home base is expecting me. He was not able to figure out what home base is, and I don't think anyone else has either. But this really just shows how organized these people are. I've said it before and I'll say it again. These people clearly either have no jobs and just live off the government, or they're getting funding from somewhere to be able to do all of this. Trump really needs to look into where that funding is coming from.
And as we just showed you, Kash Patel is on the case. The database and role assignments show this is far more organized than anyone imagined. And then Bill Mitchell writes, breaking the left's anti-signal network in Minneapolis just blew up in their faces. Cam Higbee infiltrated their chats and leaked everything. Brown report nails it. Chats full of anti-ICE operatives, tracking feds, local cops complicit.
A log of evidence for the future prosecution of ICE agents and officials responsible for this.
Tim Walz is emboldened by what amounts to organized crime with badges and budgets.
We've got a couple groups on the app Signal that we would love for you to join. Whether or not you want to be a part of the resistance network, I fully understand that you may not be comfortable with that, but if you see any suspicious vehicles, any traffic, if you know of anybody that is being targeted, that's being detained, we have resources immediately available.
Independent journalists and undercover ops have cracked open encrypted Signal chats used by radical left networks to dox, stalk, harass, and straight up impede federal ICE agents during the ongoing immigration enforcement chaos in Minneapolis and St. Paul. Cam Higbee's infiltration of these groups blew the lid off.
This is John 612. That we are at Grand and Lake. We're heading toward Irving. We can try and join you.
Signal chats are buzzing with anti-ICE operatives, and local police are complicit, cooperative even, with real-time access to national databases for tracing license plates courtesy of law enforcement insiders, as well as shift changes leaked from within departments.
And quit referring to these people as law enforcement. They are not law enforcement. We have law enforcement who do an incredible job.
Anita Smithson, dispatcher in the ICE Watch chats, Minnesota State Senate candidate, BLM supporter, Indivisible Minnesota member, and a big Waltz Ilhan Omar backer. She is allegedly using her U.S. bank risk management job for potential access to license plate databases to aid doxing. The chats coordinate rapid response ambushes on federal officers, share real-time locations and personal info, all while tying directly into state-level political operatives.
We just got this message, and it says, we know that you're in Minneapolis. You're with O'Keefe and his crew of Nazis. You're in a white Ford license plate. They actually wrote the license plate down from Florida. You have 1 hour to leave or you're dead.
Peggy Flanagan, Minnesota Lieutenant Governor, allegedly exposed as Flan or Flan Southside in the chats.
Show up and use your voice. Put your body on the line. Put your body on the line.
Amanda Kohler, Tim Walz campaign strategist and protest organizer, identified as a top administrator in the MN ICE Watch Signal group, training rioters in tactics like salute, a strategy straight out of the ICE Watch playbook for obstructing agents.
I want to move my car! I am disabled! I have a brain injury!
Kohler's LinkedIn brags about her ties to Monarcha, an ICE Watch offshoot listed as a resource on the Minnesota government website under the Office of Ombudsperson for Families, no less. John Otte, media press figure allegedly participating in the Signal groups, highlights coordination between activists and journalists to shape narratives around the protests and incidents.
We're not ICE. Why are you guys following us? We're following them because they were following us.
Well, you look suspicious as
Speculative ties at this point keep swirling around Governor Tim Walz himself as the alias boogie. Broader allegations point to dozens more State House Senate representatives, gang members, and even media embeds in these networks. This isn't some fringe chat. It's allegedly a coordinated effort blending government insiders, campaign staff, Antifa elements, and media to obstruct federal operations. These claims suggest state-level involvement in protest networks. These are not organic protests. They are a desperate, highly coordinated, state-level weaponized resistance protecting massive fraud.
Over 80% of the Somalia households receive some form of public assistance. Many of them are on welfare. So your first question is, if they're on welfare, how are they getting millions of dollars to send back to the homeland? Number one. Number two, if they're on welfare, why do they need childcare? They're not working outside of the home. Why would there be this number of Somalia childcare centers?
If the feds move, we're looking at sedition-level fallout that could collapse the Minnesota DFL, or Democratic Farmer Labor Party, machine overnight. John Bound reporting for InfoWars.
John Bound, man, love that guy. The Signal Network exposed, and Cash says that we've heard about the Signal chats. We'll look into it. Bondi says we sent a strong letter to Walls with 4 conditions where they met. Did they end sanctuary laws, turn over the criminals, ringleaders? Nope. No consequences. It's just evolving. Keith Ellison is mocking you.
Did we have the FBI? You see the FBI out there?
Steve Bannon speaking.
Cash did an interview yesterday. I love Cash. It's like a brother to me. It was like, yeah, we've heard about those Signal chats. We're going to look into that. We're going to look into that. You heard Pam Bondi. We're sending a strong letter to Waltz. Laid out 4 conditions. Were any of those 4 conditions met? Any of them? Miss Attorney General, did they? I heard it. You went on Fox. We sent a strong letter. The interview. So what are the consequences? Well, it's an evolving situation.
Well, I'm personally done with strongly worded letters. Bandon's frustration with lack of consequences sets up the shocking turn in the story. 6 people dead after a private jet crashed during takeoff at the Bangor International Airport on Sunday night.
At approximately 7:45 p.m. last night, there was an accident involving a single GA aircraft that was departing from Bangor International Airport.
The Bombardier CL-600, which looks like this, landed at Bangor International Airport to refuel last night on its way from Houston to Paris. Authorities say it crashed on takeoff, the plane flipping over and catching fire.
Our emergency protocols were immediately activated, and first responders were on scene in under a minute.
At this point, we don't know if weather played a role in the crash, but numerous flights in the Northeast were canceled because of the nor'easter. Airport Director Jose Saavedra says the winter storm had just started. He says airport crews were removing snow from the runway and tarmac and de-icing planes prior to takeoff.
The airport remained open. There were planes landing and departing around that time, and we had crews on site responding to the ongoing storm that we had at that time.
Rob Dawson and his family were on a plane that was next in line to take off.
I wasn't really concerned about taking off. It didn't seem like it was snowing too bad. I mean, they de-iced the plane, and the de-icing didn't last, so we went to get a second de-icing done. And that's when that happened, and we later found out that there was a plane upside down on the runway.
No, it's awful.
Kathy Yergin was on the same flight the Dawson family was on.
The pilot came across and said there was an accident.
FAA and NTSB investigators are expected to arrive at the airport tonight or Tuesday morning. Weather conditions, mechanical failure, and pilot error will all be factors they will look at as they try to determine.
So this is where the deadly plane crash connects to the ICE network. 8 fatalities reported in the main private jet plane crash. The plane belonged to a far less activist law group, Arnold and Itkin. They were dedicated to extreme leftist causes and politicians. There's an image of that crash. No survivors at all. So the law firm connection transforms this from a simple aviation accident to something far more suspicious. The first video release of the main private jet crash with audio of the sound impact. The plane is allegedly owned by one of the largest anti-ICE law firms in the U.S., with many other top lawyers to be on board. Varying casualty reports the anti-ice law firm adds a sinister dimension to what investigators are calling a weather-related crash. Channel 8 WMTW investigates. Nora Hogan there review the flight records that show the jet involved in Sunday's deadly crash at Bangor International carries a federal warning related to cold weather operations. So there's already a warning on that plane because they would just ignore the warnings and take off. Well, apparently this last warning wasn't heeded as well. And I think we have some more here.
Craft upside down. We have a passenger aircraft upside down.
The private plane that crashed during a snowstorm in Bangor, Maine on Sunday night has a history of trouble taking off during winter weather. I'm Nora Hogan for 8 Investigates.
Wow.
I scoured through old FAA and NTSB reports to learn more about this plane. It's a small private jet that's typically used by corporations for business purposes. It's called the Bombardier Challenger 600, and this one was being used by a law firm based in Houston. I found this report from the FAA from 2008. It's a directive because there were a series of incidents with this plane in Canada. They basically wanted the airplane manufacturer rather, to update its safety manual to provide specific guidance for pilots, telling them to pay extra close attention to any ice, slush, snow buildup on the wings. So basically, this is an issue for any plane. Pilots aren't supposed to take off if there's snow on the wings, but an aviation expert tells me what this directive means is that this particular plane has a specific sensitivity. The report mentions concern about losing control during takeoff. So basically, if there's any amount of snow or ice on the wings, even just the smallest trace, it could cause the pilot to lose control. Of course, we don't know if that's what happened with this particular crash. This investigation by officials will take a while, but it's some interesting history about this plane. We know in Bangor that basically the small jet was trying to take off. It ended up flipped upside down on the runway. And we'll continue to follow closely. If you want to read this FAA report for yourself to learn more, you can visit our website at WMTW.com.
Wow. So a history of warnings completely ignored. Flight records showing the cold weather warnings raise questions about why they took off in those conditions. Well-known Texas attorney's wife among the victims of the deadly private crash in Maine. The Texas attorney connection deepens the mystery of who exactly was on the doomed flight. First images of the Bombardier Challenger 650 that crashed with 8 souls on board at Bangor appear to show the craft entirely upside down, still smoldering with the status of the crew and passengers unknown. Let's see if there's any video. There's no video, but you can see it clearly upside down. The disturbing images of the accident. 7 died, 1 injured in the crash. Survival count is changing, but the law firm connection to the anti-ice operation remains consistent. The FAA here, BNO News, 7 passengers were killed. 1 crew member's survival means there's a potential witness to what happened in that cockpit. 1 crew member survived. According to an air traffic control recording, a voice was heard saying, "Let there be light," as the Challenger 650 crashed in heavy snow, killing 7 of the 8. It was unclear whether the eerie line was spoken by one of the pilots or an air traffic controller. Let there be light. Yep. Let's see.
10 Kilo Juliet, Bangor Tower, runway 33 RVR, more than 6,000, wind is 060 at Niner, runway 33, final heading, clear for takeoff.
Runway heading, clear for takeoff, runway 33, 10 Kilo Juliet.
Let there be light. All traffic is stopped on the field, all traffic is stopped on the field. Moxie, continue taxiing to the ramp.
Continuing to the ramp, Moxie 52.
Aircraft upside down. We have a passenger aircraft upside down.
All crash, 6-4, proceed on the airport. The airport's yours, the airport is closed. All crash vehicles move as needed on the airfield.
Bangor ground, airport command.
Bangor ground.
Any idea how many souls on board?
We don't have an exact number. They know 3 crew and possibly 5 passengers. The FBO is going to get back to me with the total number.
Oh my God. Let there be light. Let's go back to that.
Upside down.
All traffic is stopped on the field. All traffic is stopped At Niner, runway 33, final heading, clear for takeoff.
Runway headed clear for takeoff. Runway 33, 10 Kilo Juliet.
Let there be light. All traffic is stopped on the field. All traffic is stopped on the
You can
field.
see it accelerating on the runway, and then let me play that back one more time.
Takeoff. Runway 33, 10 Kilo Juliet.
Let there be light. All traffic is stopped on the field. All traffic is stopped on the field.
I can't make it. I think that's the pilot saying it right as he is about to accelerate on the runway. An eerie final piece to the mysterious crash involving the anti-Trump lawyers. Private jet crash in Maine belonged to top anti-ICE, anti-Trump lawyers who defended illegal aliens. All passengers presumed dead. Another image there. So the jet crash's tail number traces directly back to the lawyers funding election interference. Arnold and Itkin spent millions trying to pick our Republican candidates while getting rich defending people who shouldn't be here. Now the private jet is scattered across the main runway, and something big just got disrupted. So we're witnessing something unprecedented. The intersection of illegal immigration, election manipulation, and now mysterious deaths. These were random lawyers. These were players in a system designed to undermine American sovereignty while profiting from chaos. Their death removes major funding and legal protection from anti-ICE networks just as violence against federal agents reaches dangerous levels. The timing raises serious questions about whether this crash eliminated people who knew too much about coordinated resistance efforts. The story connects to money, politics, and violence in ways the mainstream media will never explore. Are we looking at the collapse of an organized anti-enforcement network? Check out the next News Merch Shop. Wow. That was crazy. Crazy, man. That report was almost an hour long. Truthy Ruthie coming in hot with a $50 super chat. James Fay coming in hot with a 5 spot as well. Hello, N3 Patriots. Johnny Rodriguez hitting $2 in the super chat, and he's doesn't say anything, but thank you for the $2. And then we got a member here, Tangled Bliss has become a member. All right. And we also have this from, who is this? Love My Persians also. Okay, Brian said hang out with the chat for a minute. So since we are, I've got some new sound effects here that I want to show you guys.
You're fired. Get out of here. You're fired.
What are you looking at, butthead? What are you looking at, butthead? Great Scott.
All right. Needless death being the crash happened, possibly would never happen had they not been called to fight against ICE and law enforcement. Yeah, sure. What were they doing in Maine? That's a big question. From a beautiful friend, America must stand united to stop following the... I love the sounds.
You're fired. Get out of here. You're fired. Great Scott. Get out.
What are you looking at, butthead?
And let's see what else we have here. We have...
Wrong.
How dare you?
You said people gonna die?
How dare you?
You're fired. Get out of here. You're fired. Get out.
How dare you?
All right, enough fun with our new sound effect board here that we've got in the studio. Okay, Brian's back. Looks like we got another member who has just joined. Crazy Frank in the house. What's up, Crazy Frank? Where is that sound effect? Okay, that's the... Okay, there it is. All right. Okay.
How dare you?
All right, Brian, let's get this next show on the road here. And we're at $57 in chat revenue. Let me get this queued up so we can get this next one in the can. I know that Todd's working on tonight's show. He had some dental work he had to do today. So hope you're doing well, Todd. Hope that Novocaine kept you safe. I hate the dentist. Okay, I'm ready, Brian. Remember Tim Walz, Kamala's running mate, who was supposed to be the progressive champion of resistance? Well, it took exactly one phone call from Donald Trump to make him completely cave, and what happened next is supposed to something much bigger about how the anti-ICE resistance network actually operates when the heat gets turned up. You see, this isn't just about Minnesota politics. This is about the complete collapse of the Democrat resistance when faced with real consequences. You see, for months, we've watched progressive leaders like Tim Walz and the Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey virtue signal about protecting illegal immigrants and standing up to federal enforcement. But the moment Trump applied some real pressure, they folded like a house of cards. Now, this exposes how hollow their resistance really is. When push comes to shove, these politicians care more about their own political survival than the causes they claim to champion. And if this is how quickly they surrender on immigration enforcement, what happens when Trump starts pushing on other issues? The progressive base is watching their heroes crumble in real time. And when the people you trusted to lead turn against the very laws they're swore to uphold, you realize that trust has to be earned. That same principle applies to your health. If you're feeling sluggish or foggy or just off, your liver might be overloaded. Dr. Josh, a physician with over 25 years of experience, created Ultra Liver to work like a deep cleanse for your entire body. It supports detoxification, digestion, metabolism, and energy. Over 500,000 bottles sold and thousands of 5-star reviews. I take it myself, and the difference is real. More energy, clearer thinking, less bloating. If you're ready to flush dangerous toxins and take back control, visit tryultraliver.com/NNN. Save up to 50% right now. That's tryultraliver.com/NNN. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Remember the image of Jacob Frey at the Somali Independence Day celebration? Same guy who told ICE to get the F out. Well, I guess apparently he's now cooperating with Trump's deportation plans. And Tim Walz, who was literally climbing the gates of his mansion to support protesters just days ago, is now sending in local police to help federal agents. The speed of this reversal is breathtaking. Scott Jennings here points out the obvious, that ICE is operating all around the country, and the chaos we see is only occurring in Minneapolis. We don't have an ICE problem in this country. We have a Tim Walz and Jacob Frey problem in this country.
On this new reporting that we just heard from our Kristen Holmes at the White House, that President Trump is frustrated with the messaging around his immigration efforts and wants to change the narrative. How do you see it?
Well, I'd be frustrated too if I were faced with this wall of propaganda every single day, and if I were faced with these recalcitrant Democrats in Minnesota who simply won't cooperate with the federal government. All over this country, states and cities all over the country, you have cooperation going on between the locals and the federal government. You don't see any chaos. You see very orderly transitions of illegal aliens into federal custody. They go into deportation. It works just fine. The only difference in Minnesota is you have Walz and Frey and Flanagan and the rest of these local Democrats who don't want to cooperate. They think that Minnesota somehow should exist in, I guess, some state of secession where federal laws don't apply to people inside the state of Minnesota. It is causing chaos, and if I were the president, I would be frustrated about that too, because, you know, narratives aside, he's the chief law enforcement officer of the United States, and he has to enforce the law in all 50 states.
And that's exactly what he's doing. But you have obstructionists. This sets up the pattern of ICE operations work everywhere except Minnesota. So let's clear what makes leadership so uniquely problematic there. This is the guy who told ICE to get the F out, showing off his body, his allegiance to Somalis, and his Hillary Clinton socks. He is not a leader. He is a clown. Clearly a clown. Wow. How humiliating. Frey's theatrical resistance is just the opening act. His boss, Tim Walz, has been even more reckless in an escalating crisis. Tim Walz was just a few days ago climbing the gate of his mansion, urging protesters to keep causing trouble and fighting ICE. An armed man just attacked agents and got killed. See how that works? Minnesota officials are fueling this. Look at this.
On the China Commission in Congress, ironically enough, as co-chair with Marco Rubio, we used to bring in Chinese political prisoners, and we would ask them, when we speak up and call out your government, is it bad? And they said, well, in the short run it's bad because they torture us. But if you don't speak up, they will torture us and forget about us. And the idea is right now is we have to be speaking up. We have to call it out. You are doing everything, and our neighbors are doing everything. And I can't stress enough on this. We're winning it because we're doing it with Minnesota grit, Minnesota humor, Minnesota decency. Oftentimes talk about this, and I know people are discussing this a lot. I spent a lot of time with John Lewis on nonviolent resistance. The resistance matters. We're not telling people to be silent, but we're not telling people to go out and cause problems. We're going to cause good trouble.
We're going to cause good trouble. Yeah, and now people are dead. Walls literally encouraging confrontation. And now we're seeing the deadly consequences, but there's something darker about the agenda. A plague from the Democrat coalition of Satan worshipers is now being, a plaque, is being displayed at the Minnesota State Capitol, thanking Governor Tim Walz for allowing the spread of Satanism. Are you serious?
This is Representative P.M. Altendorf coming live at you from the Minnesota State Capitol. I am on the ground floor, and as I was leaving my committee meeting today here earlier, I noticed that there is a new display here at the State Capitol, and it's for Governor Walz. It's right here on display. So let me see. I mean, I guess I can't flip my phone, but I'll see if I can show it to you. So this is what we have here, everyone. Let me read it to you. The Democratic Coalition of Satan Worshipers thanks Governor Tim Walz for not standing in the way of spreading Satanism in the State Capitol building. Satan has a special place for you. That's right, everyone. So the Democratic Coalition of Satan Worshipers, they have given some sort of plaque here to Governor Tim Walz. So let me be the first, I guess, to congratulate Governor Tim Walz for this very special award that has come from the Satan worshipers here in the Minnesota State Capitol. Yes, everyone, this is true. I am live, not making this up. You can't make this up. I don't know what else to say. I would think if you're Governor Tim Walz, you could choose not to have up this plaque. I don't know why a governor of a state would want this plaque, but there it is. Let me show you. Here we are, live at the State Capitol, and the Satan worshipers have thanked Governor Tim Walz.
It all makes sense now. The satanic plaque reveals the moral rot, but here's where the story takes a dramatic turn. Trump just forced Walz into submission. Social Matrix posts. Governor Tim Walz called me with respect to work together on Minnesota. Here's President Trump in his official statement. Governor Tim Walz called me with a request to work together with respect to Minnesota. It was a good call, and we actually seem to be on similar wavelength. I told Governor Walz I would have Tom Homan call him, and that what we are looking for are any and all criminals that they have in their possession. The governor respectfully understood that, and I will be speaking to him in the near future. He was happy to have Tom Homan coming to Minnesota, and so am I. We've had so much tremendous success in Washington, D.C. So President Trump getting a call from Walz, and it shows that he got Walz to cave, but watch how Walz tries to spin the capitulation just to save face. Walz was asked if there's anything that you could do to meet the Trump administration at least part of the way, and he rants and raves and lies like an unhinged lunatic, admitting he has no interest in enforcing our immigration laws or investigating fraud. Why? Because it all goes right to him.
Is there anything we can do to meet the Trump administration at least part of the way to try to turn this temperature down?
Well, first of all, it's not a serious attempt, and the Attorney General sent that in. I would thank the local folks and Commissioner Snell. Thank you to you and your team over there. In that letter, they talked about, you need to hand people over who are in your jails. They're taking credit for people that we've had in jail for a long time. We always hand them over, and the commissioner very clearly. So they're lying. They're lying. This has nothing to do with fraud, as the Attorney General said. They're not sending us forensic accountants, and these are things that have been we're dealing with now and have been for quite some time. So look, it's not a serious attempt to get at this. The way to fix this is get these folks out of here. We've continued to work with them. They asked us for these numbers. We provided them. We continue to show, and they're not serious. And look, I think everybody understands what the last request was, totally unrelated to anything on the voter files. This is, again, as the Attorney General said, Donald Trump telling everybody that the election was rigged, who started all this nightmare for America, has nothing to do with it. And I would just give a pro tip to the Attorney General. There's 2 million documents in the Epstein files we're still waiting on. Go ahead and work on those.
Yeah, nice redirect there. I got a pro tip for you. Walz's public rants expose his true intention. He has no plan except obstruction and lies. Pathetic, weak Walz. What is the plan? Rapid Response 47. It's simple. Work with federal law enforcement, like countless other Republican and Democrat-led cities have done, to get violent, criminal, illegal aliens out of your sanctuary cities and state. Walz asking what the plan shows his desperation, and now federal law enforcement is calling out the dangerous game. Here's the reaction from Attorney General Pam Bondi. Federal law enforcement agents are doing heroic work to remove the worst of the worst, and they're only there in the first place because of Walz, Ellison, and Frey's dangerous sanctuary policies. She nails the core of the issue. The policies created the mess, and even political observers are shocked by the incompetence. Scott Jennings, can you imagine what other historically illiterate garbage this obscene buffoon taught kids in school? It's deeper. This is not random chaos. This is a calculated pattern. And then we have this from the 76. Is it a coincidence that deportations occur nationwide, yet chaos erupts only in Minnesota amid its fraud scandal? Common denominator, leadership like Jacob Frey and Tim Walz urging voters to obstruct ICE in their goal, hoping chaos forces ICE to withdraw to enable their ongoing fraud. So the fraud connection reveals the real motive behind the obstruction. They're trying to protect their criminal network. Sass Guy says, where were you when illegals killed 12 Minnesotans? Where were you when Walz let off 500 immigrant rapists, extortionists, and thieves? Where were you when the daycare scandal broke? How many died because of Aboriginals in MB? This damning list of failures shows why they fought so hard, and here's the moment that changed everything. Benny Johnson writes, all it took was a phone call with Trump for Walz to bend the knee and send local police to take rioters. This should have happened on day one, and the chaos could have been prevented. Every other Democrat governor should follow along.
You are now under arrest. Please sit down and wait for instruction.
I'm at level 12 news.
I can't hear you.
I'm at level 12 news. BG on the scene. I've just pressed.
You don't have any press credentials?
I don't. I can show you.
All right, why don't you move out there, okay?
Oh.
Just get out there. Stay outside the line, okay? Coming out. Coming out.
One phone call broke Walz completely, and now Trump is revealing exactly how he forced the surrender. Trump details his phone call with Walz and Frey.
But I had two very good talks. I had Jacob Frey and I had Governor Walz, and I mean they were great calls. So let's see how they report it. But they were very nice calls, very respectful.
So is there a possibility, President Trump, of some type of compromise? I read that some of the Guard will be leaving the state of Minnesota, some type of compromise to, I guess, make those guys feel like they're in charge, even though, God help us.
Yeah, well, we'll I think so. Yeah, I mean, I think so. What we need is their criminals. You know, they have criminals, and all I said, just give us your criminals. And if you give us the criminals, it all goes away. They're there to pick up murders. I don't know if you saw, but it was a couple of days ago announced that crime is the lowest in the history of our country, the recorded history of our country.
Wow.
That's a big statement. That's because of us. That's because we go into cities and towns. Usually we're embraced. Sometimes we're not. Chicago is like pulling teeth with Pritzker and with the mayor of Chicago, low IQ person. And usually we're embraced, but sometimes we're not. And when we're not, it just makes it harder.
Just makes it harder. So this is the moment we're witnessing the complete exposure of progressive virtue signaling for what it really is. Performance theater. When the cameras were rolling and the base was watching, they were resistance heroes, but when Trump picked up the phone and applied real pressure, they became collaborators overnight. The mask didn't just slip, it completely fell off. So the Minnesota cave-in proves that progressive resistance was always more about optics than actual opposition. These politicians built their careers on standing up to Trump, but when he actually called their bluff, they folded immediately. This isn't just about immigration policy, it's about the complete hollowness of Democrat leadership when faced with real consequences. Tim Walz went from potential VP to Trump collaborator in record time. Jacob Frey went from get the F out to how can we help in one phone call. This is what happens when virtue signaling meets reality. The progressive base is learning that their heroes were never actually willing to fight. They were just willing to pose. Do you think other Democrat governors will fold just as quickly when Trump calls them next? And hey, while you're thinking about that, check out the Next News merch shop for gear that won't fold under pressure. All right. Just 1 second here. I got to make a quick call. Okay, and we're back. All right, we're moving right along, and looks like we have another new member here. Crazy Frank has just become a member. And then we got $5 Australian. Yes. I'll take that money from down under. Love your channel. Keep up the great work. And Wyatt Earp just sent 10 Next News memberships as gifts. Holy cow, this is huge. This is a big deal. All right, Brian. Just want to make sure you're getting all your mark-ins and your mark-outs. I'm doing them here, too. Okay. Because I'm not getting those cues as we thought we were going to be getting, even though I double-checked the system to make sure that they were there. Anyway, moving right along. Look at all those new members. That is super, super cool. Okay, I'm ready to go. A winery worth $15,000 magically transforms into a $5 million empire in just 12 months. No wine produced, no phones answered, no social media activity, yet somehow Ilhan Omar's financial disclosures show this ghost business multiplied in value by over 300 times. This is not business success. This looks like something much, much darker. If elected officials can launder money through fake businesses and report phantom assets worth millions, what does it mean for you? It means your tax dollars could be funding corruption while you struggle with inflation and rising costs. When politicians get rich off mysterious business dealings, it destroys trust in our entire system. But here's the real kicker. If they're this bold about hiding assets in plain sight on official disclosures, imagine what they're hiding, what we can't see. This pattern isn't isolated to one person. Keith Ellison streamlined money transfers to Somalia while encouraging maximum financial support. We're looking at a potential network of financial manipulation that could reach right into your community, your elections, and your future. And when fraud reaches into the billions and political elites start lawyering up, you realize the system protects its own, but you can protect yourself. You ever see something and instantly know it's going to turn heads? That is what happened when I saw these Trump Never Surrender gold sneakers, gold finish, red, white, and blue details. Never Surrender right on the shoe. These aren't subtle, and they're not supposed to be lightweight, solid build, and made to be worn. The message matters. Never Surrender isn't just branding, it's an attitude. Limited run, numbered pairs. Once they're gone, they're gone. Go to themagaoffers.com/NNN or call 855-550-MAGA. Use promo code NNN for even bigger savings. Don't wait. Grab your pair and make a statement. But it gets worse. The same winery that supposedly exploded in value has no working website, no phone line, no social media accounts, completely dark. Meanwhile, we've got Keith Ellison on Somali television encouraging people to send maximum money overseas through streamlined processes that he personally authored. The connections are starting to form a very disturbing picture of coordinated financial manipulation. Here we have Rapid Response 47, the president talking about rooting out the fraud. Check this out.
So in Minnesota, they think it's $19 billion. If they think it's $19 billion, triple it or quadruple it. And if we catch a lot of this fraud, and I felt it for a long time, but now we know what's happening. And the answer is, yeah, there will be accountability. It's one of the little problems. You know, I happen to think, and I've said it from the beginning, that a lot of what's going on with respect to Minneapolis, you know, with what's happening with all the hoopla, is so people don't talk about.
You think it's a distraction?
I've said it from day one. It's a distraction because what you don't see is that we have hundreds of accountants from Todd and from all of the different people. We have hundreds of accountants going over everything that's happening, and we're finding fraud on top of fraud on top of fraud. And I think that they don't want that to happen. You're talking about $19 billion. Probably that's a minimal number. Now, you take that and you go to California. You think California is better? I would say California is worse. It's totally out of control. They don't know what they're doing out there.
Of course they don't know what they're doing, but I think they do know very well what they're doing because it's all systematic, institutionalized fraud. Now, Trump's aggressive stance on Minnesota sets up the broader defense against a critic whose claim he's backed down from his promises. Listen to this.
He has posted that you have retreated in Minnesota, Governor Gavin Newsom, and he is encouraging people to keep the pressure up.
See, I haven't heard that at all because it's just the opposite. I was called by the governor yesterday. I was called by the mayor yesterday. How do we do something? Please, how do we do something? I think it's bad for them. I don't think it's bad for us. I think it's bad for them.
Yeah, you'll have to see what
But it's not a question of retreat. We want safe cities. Whether it's if we took a lot of the crime out of there. We want safe cities and states. We want a safe country. And again, we just got a report done by Democrats that the country is the safest ever recorded right now.
Amen. It's because President Trump is following through. Trump's defiant response to retreat accusations transitions into the specific examples of who's actually being investigated for fraud. Ilhan Omar, probed by the Biden administration in 2024. That's wild. Let's check out this Fox News hit.
President Trump saying the Justice Department is now investigating the finances of far-left Congresswoman Elon Omar out of Minnesota. But that scrutiny reportedly extending to the Biden administration as well. Interesting twist here. Chad Pergram looks at the timeline and more. Chad, good morning.
Bill, good morning. This is not just a Trump administration probe into Omar. This inquiry apparently started during the Biden years in 2024. The investigation centers around campaign spending. Now, the U.S. Attorney's Office in D.C. initiated the inquiry. President Trump posted on Truth Social that the DOJ is, quote, looking at Omar. He claims she left Somalia with nothing and is now worth, quote, $44 million. The president ripped Omar last week.
And then we have this fake congressperson who they just reported is worth $30 million. You believe this? Elon Omar, talking about the Constitution provides me. She comes from a country that's not a country, and she's telling us how to run America. Not going to get away with it much longer, let me tell you.
It's unclear how President Trump landed on the dollar figures. Other members from Minnesota have raised questions about Omar.
I don't know what she's doing, but I suspect that it's not legal. Who knows? You don't see that kind of change. I mean, she reported on her disclosures around here about a $65,000 net worth just a couple of years back. So Jamie Comer and the Oversight Committee are investigating this and looking into this, and this needs to be exposed.
Now, James Comer questions how Omar's husband built his wealth. He wants an investigation. Omar says she did nothing wrong.
Of course she's going to say that. Oh, she's freaking out. The panic is setting in. Omar's DOJ probe opens the door to examining how healthcare fraud operates in Democrat strongholds like L.A. County. They become an epicenter for healthcare fraud in America. Criminals have corrupted the system so much that the fraud is now almost expected. Trump has made it clear we will not tolerate the patient harm or taxpayer-funded theft any longer.
So you can see these are medical buildings.
This is Dr. Oz on the ground in L.A. County, California.
Cyrillic writing, see Russian, Armenian writing. Both sides, there's lots of action, it seems. I don't know how many patients are getting care, but in this 4-block area in Los Angeles, there are 42 hospices. So either there are a lot of people dying here, or you've got a fraudulent activity that is so good that everyone wants to get in on it. I'm in Van Nuys in Los Angeles, and this boarded up area above my head here is a big hospice center. There are apparently quite a few hospices around here, 42 within a 4-block radius. And these guys stole $16 million. Listen carefully. The main guy went to jail for 2 years, for stealing $16 million, which is a good trade-off for a lot of folks. And if you look at it, it's pretty indescript. There wasn't anyone really in there. They weren't doing any services. They just got an address they could claim was a hospice. And then they ran the business, claiming people were at home getting services, which they really weren't. What we have learned is there's roughly $3.5 billion of fraud taking place here in Los Angeles in hospice and home care. It's run quite a bit of it by the Russian-Armenian mafia. You notice the lettering and language behind me is of that dialect. And it also highlights the fact that this is an organized crime, mafia deal where you've got folks who have systemically recruited doctors to write false prescriptions, hundreds of doctors participating. They've got 100,000 patients who they've tricked or paid to give them their beneficiary numbers so they can perpetuate the fraud. And then the criminals are just running the whole organization and quickly scurrying away when law enforcement does get around to prosecuting them. Unfortunately, in California, there has not been a lot of attention on these problems. That's going to change. The U.S. Attorney, the FBI, everyone's now focused on the fact that in this state, which has about $30 billion worth of home and community-based services, most of it might be fraudulent. Those are big numbers, and we're taking it seriously. The president's not going to tolerate this anymore.
Party's over. Dr. Oz's LA healthcare fraud revelation connects to broader concerns about how deep the corruption runs in government. Rob Whiten, scary. The terrorists have infiltrated our government that high and this much. He was posting this video.
We've talked extensively about Keith Ellison and his role in this fraud scandal. But the reality is, Keith Ellison's role in fraud, particularly working with the Somali community, goes back much further than this. So today we're going to talk a tiny bit more about Keith Ellison's origin story. Keith Ellison served in Congress for a little over a decade, but is only known for passing one bill. And here he is talking about that issue.
Well, first of all, let me say Salam Alaikum, Ilyas. It's good to be here with you with the Mogadishu Times. The discussion focused on how we can keep money flowing to Somalia.
As Ellison just said there, his priority of the one bill that he passed during his time in Congress was about how he could get more money flowing to Somalia. And this was with the Mogadishu Times. Now, they had talked about the fact that some banks were getting skittish over those remittances, which is how people in the United States send money to other countries, in a lot of cases, developing countries, to family members back home and things like that. And Ellison explains why they were skittish.
The word that they could end up being prosecuted on a criminal basis or having the regulations come on them, because recently a lady named Amina Ali was convicted of gathering money for Al-Shabaab and then using a service to transmit that money.
Now, he mentions there a woman named Amina Ali who was arrested. Now, you may be asking, why was she arrested? She was arrested for sending material support to Al-Shabaab, the terror network. So as banks were getting nervous about remittances because they were tied to funding terrorism, Keith Ellison passed a bill to make it easier for these banks to get around federal oversight for those remittances. So he has been involved in trying to get more money into the Somali community and then back to Somalia his entire professional life.
Keith Ellison, man. Your days are numbered too. This viewer's terror about government infiltration bridges us to the historical context of the Somali community's political involvement. Kaylee McEnany, my team at Sat America, FNC, and Fox News monitor Somali television programming. We unearthed new sound from then Congressman, now Attorney General Keith Ellison, and then City Council candidate, now Mayor Jacob Frey. Check this out.
The Saturday in America team just uncovered new sound. We've been monitoring Somali TV. Our producer, Jay Kazim, back in 2014, then Congressman Ellison authored the Money Remittances Improvement Act, which streamlined the process for immigrants to send money overseas. And Ellison said that the goal was to keep the money flowing to Somalia.
Many banks have been dropping out of helping to do the transaction between the United States and Somalia. So I wanted to work on the Somali side of the equation to try to see what we could do to make sure that we move those transactions along.
Now, that's never been seen footage here on Fox News. And in that same interview, then Congressman Keith Ellison encouraged people to help Somalia any way they could.
Somalia needs everything. So whatever you can do, come do it. If you are good at music and art, write a song about Somalia. If you're good at writing newspaper articles, tell people about it. If you're good at internet stuff, help build the network and build the bandwidth of Somalia. If you're good at construction, build a building, come build a road. And if you can't do any of those things, give money to people who can do it. But do something.
And he's now the Attorney General of Minnesota here in the United States. We also unearthed an old interview of then City Council candidate Jacob Fry saying government officials need to help the Somali community thrive.
We're doing some phenomenal work with the Somali community right now, and we'd like to continue that. This is a community that is thriving, that's on the verge of absolutely amazing things, and we need to make sure we have government officials that are helping them along to make sure that not just they thrive, but the rest of our city thrives as well.
We asked both Ellison and Fry for comment, and we invited them to join us here on the show, and neither of them answered. But we are bringing those interviews to light for the very first time.
It all becomes clear. Kelly's investigation into Somali political connections sets up the bombshell financial evidence about Omar's suspicious business dealings. Benny Johnson exposing Ilhan Omar's winery is fake. Wall Street Apes reports in just 1 year, the winery increased in value by $5 million with no physical winery, website that barely works, no phone link, social media gone dark, and most importantly, no wine at all.
I just investigated Ilhan Omar's official financial disclosures, and what I found was so dark and criminal. I don't know how she gets out of this without going to jail. Have a look at this. Here's Ilhan Omar's financial disclosure from the Congressional Record, year 2023. I want to bring your attention to this company right down here, Est Crew LLC. This is a winery in Santa Rosa, California. It's not doing that well. The total value of the winery is listed at $15,000, and Ilhan Omar's barely making any money off of it at all. Hardly enough to pay a parking ticket. Okay, that's fine. Nothing really mysterious there. Businesses fail all the time. But go ahead and look at her filing for 2024, and you'll find that Est Crew Winery, the same company in the same location, is now worth $5 million. That's incredible, up from $15,000. And now Ilhan Omar's making enough to pay rent. So this must be one of the most successful companies ever. Let's go ahead and check in on this winery. You know, maybe we could buy some wine. I like wine. Why not? Let's see if we can buy some Est Crew Winery. Here's Est Crew's social media Facebook page. You'll see here that the last post, oh no, was in 2023. Wasn't this the year that they were supposed to, go really big and make Ilhan Omar millions of dollars? Same thing on their Instagram, and they don't have an X. So let's go ahead and check their official website. What is Est Crew? We are winemakers and memory curators, okay? Est Crew Winery has a bunch of brands that's led by these people, creators of eye-catching labels. So I'm sure I can go and get some of their wine, right? Well, they don't have any activities here, so maybe I could just go to their location and buy some of their wines, or maybe give them a call. Let's try and go to their location here. This is the Google Street View of Est Crew Winery, and what you'll find here is an empty parking lot. Doesn't actually look like an operational business. Certainly isn't the same name. So, okay, let's go ahead and give them a call. See if maybe they pick up. Let's go ahead and call the number on the webpage. Let's go ahead and give them a call and find out. Oh no, user busy. Let's try that. Okay. Well, I've done this like 20 times today. Okay, so that didn't work. Is there any wine in this wine company? Is there anything about wine? 'Cause I see like stuff about events, but like, what is this exactly? Aren't you supposed to sell wine at your wine company? Where are your wines? Oh, there are no wines. You want to know why? Because this is a fake company. Rep. Ilhan Omar's husband accused of swindling investors in their California winery. They stole millions from cannabis growers. You can see here's the lawsuit right here, saying that Tim Minette, who's Ilhan Omar's third husband, no relation, swindled his investors and defrauded them. How did Minette get this relationship? Well, the current Attorney General of Minnesota, Keith Ellison, used to work for him. Isn't that curious? Keith Ellison, the same guy who refuses to look into any of the Somali fraud. So this company was sued for being a fraudulent company. And the New York Post says the exact same thing, as the House is now probing the mystery of Ilhan Omar's skyrocketing wealth. They said that Ilhan Omar went from being one of the poorest members of Congress, worth negative $65,000, to being one of the richest, worth $30 million. Here's a rare photo of one of their wines that they allegedly made, The Devil's Lie. But the entire company is actually a lie. It's not a lie to Ilhan Omar, though, because she's able to list an enormous amount of her income and an enormous amount of her net worth to this fake winery. This winery is not worth $5 million. The winery doesn't even exist. It's fake. It's fraudulent. They need to investigate this right now. This is a lie. And maybe, it's the devil's lie.
Well done, Benny. Well done. Oh, Ilhan Omar is screwed. I mean, from marrying her brother to her husband's massive wealth in his firm to this, I mean, pick your crime. The Omar Winery expose perfectly sets up the bigger picture of DOGE's promise that much more explosive fraud is coming. DOGE chairman says people are about to be real uncomfortable with their new findings in waste, fraud, and abuse coming soon. Tim Burchett, what does he have to say? I promise you this. I will expose it to you. I'm going to go straight public, and then we'll see what happens. So here is the smoking gun. You cannot increase a business value by 33,000% without any business activity whatsoever. All right, no wine sales, no operations, no communication. This is not a successful business transformation. This is asset laundering hidden in plain sight on congressional financial disclosures, betting that nobody would actually investigate. This is exactly why we need DOGE investigations and representatives like Tim Burchett, who promise to expose everything directly to the public. And politicians can report magical business transformations worth millions while producing absolutely nothing. Our entire system becomes a joke. These aren't isolated incidents. They're part of a pattern that stretches from Minnesota to Somalia, involving streamlined money transfers and phantom assets. The question isn't whether this looks suspicious. The question is whether we're going to demand real investigations or just let it slide like everything else. Do you think Ilhan Omar should have to explain how a non-existent winery became worth $5 million overnight? Check out the Next News merch shop and let me know what you think about these magical business transformations that seem to only benefit certain politicians. All right, Truthy Ruthie. Wow, wow, wow. Yeah. Okay, look at that, $100. My goodness, that's an unexpected donation today in the super chats. Brian, you know what we need? We need to get what's the guy Sacha Baron Cohen plays the character you know, he comes from Kazakh nation. What's his name? What is his name? I can't remember. I know you know who I'm talking about. We need to get some of his sound bites in here, like wowie, 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 you know, like that. That's exactly what I wanted to say when I saw this donation. Like, oh, wowie, wowie, wowie. That'd be great. All right, make a note of that, would you? Would you please do that? I'd appreciate it. Thank you very much, Brian. Wowie, wowie, wowie. All right, we're going to be moving into our next topic of the evening here. And then we got to reset for the evening show. Hopefully everything is moving along. I just got the document notes from Todd a few minutes ago, and I have yet to review. I've got some phone calls I need to make after this show's in the can. But we are moving right along. So, Brian, I'm ready when you are. Elon Musk just dropped a bombshell chart comparing voting laws worldwide, and what he found should terrify every American who believes in fair elections. The United States stands completely alone among major democracies in one shocking way. We're the only country that doesn't require voter ID, while simultaneously being one of the few that allows mass mail-in voting. But when Republicans try to fix this with the SAVE Act, Democrats go into panic mode. It's not just about election integrity. This is about the survival of our republic. When you require proof of citizenship to vote, you're not suppressing voters, you're protecting the voice of actual Americans. But look at Hakeem Jeffries' reaction when confronted about calling the SAVE Act voter suppression. He flat out denied saying it, then immediately contradicted himself on camera. That's not confusion, that's desperation. Every other major nation figured this out decades ago. India, with 1.4 billion people, requires voter ID. Mexico requires voter ID. Even Germany and France, which allow some mail-in voting, still require identification. But somehow in America, asking for the same basic verification is suddenly racist or suppression. The math is simple. Remove voter ID requirements, flood the system with unverified mail-in ballots, and you create the perfect conditions for fraud. When politicians fight to keep the system broken, you have to wonder what they're hiding. The same applies to your body. Joint pain can slow you down and make you feel older than you are, and most supplements promise miracles but don't deliver because ordinary turmeric barely absorbs. And that's why Dr. Josh Levitt created Golden Revive Plus using BCM 95 curcumin, which absorbs up to 200 times better. Combined with boswellia to fight inflammation, magnesium to relax tight muscles, and bromelain to ease stiffness, I take it myself. No more morning stiffness, no hesitation, climbing stairs, just smooth, pain-free movement. Golden Revive Plus is a complete joint restoration system designed to reduce pain, rebuild cartilage, and help you move freely again. Visit goldenrevive.com/NNN to learn more. That's goldenrevive.com/NNN. But here's what really exposes the game. A viral post pointing out how Democrats need three things to survive: taxpayer money, mass immigration, and election fraud. Take those away, and they go from a 50% party to a 20% party overnight. That's why they fight the SAVE Act so viciously. It's not about voter rights. It's about party survival. When every other nation can secure their elections, but Democrats claim America can't, you're not looking at incompetence at all. Here's Representative Mark Harris. The SAVE Act requires proof of U.S. citizenship to vote in federal elections. And where is it now? Sitting in the Senate collecting dust. Bottom line, a nation that cannot secure its elections cannot preserve its liberty.
We must conserve the American way of life. What good is economic prosperity if our freedoms, the very soul of our nation, are eroded day by day? Let's start with the foundation of self-government. Yes, I'm talking about our elections. Only American citizens should vote in American elections. This is not controversial. This is common sense. The House has already acted decisively. We passed the SAVE Act requiring documentary proof of U.S. citizenship to register for federal elections. The need for the SAVE Act couldn't be clearer. Just in my own state of North Carolina, last fall, the DMV admitted to registering an unknown number of non-citizens. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. Americans, I believe, demand that we have secure elections. And yet the SAVE Act has been sitting in the Senate gathering dust. And the question, it's clear, when will the Senate pass it? A nation that cannot secure its elections cannot preserve its liberty. And election integrity is not voter suppression. It is the bedrock of a representative government.
The bedrock. But of course, without it, it is the bedrock of fraud. And now Tucker Carlson is talking about actual loopholes being exploited right now. Wall Street Apes writes, we must pass the SAVE Act. Tucker Carlson exposing how U.S. Congress passed a loophole to allow illegal migrants to vote. Are you freaking kidding me?
And it's happening for political reasons. It's happening because the Democratic Party has ceased making the case for itself to Americans. And so in order to keep power, in fact, to expand their power and to preside over the one-party state that they desire, they're going to need a brand new electorate. And this is their electorate. Foreigners will choose your leaders. You're not allowed to choose the leaders of foreign countries, but foreigners will choose your leaders, including in this election, this 2024 presidential election. Well, how would that work? It's illegal, you say, for illegal aliens to vote in a federal election. Well, actually, it's not illegal, it turns out. Congress passed something in the U.S. code, the federal code, a line that, unbeknownst to the rest of us, makes it legal for illegal aliens to vote in federal elections if they believe they are citizens. It's a state of mind. Did you know that? We didn't know that. Most people didn't know that. Catherine Engelbrecht just found this provision in the U.S. code. That's the kind of thing she reads because she's the founder of True the Vote and has been working on these issues for a few years now. And she joins us to explain what she's found. Catherine Engelbrecht, thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, thanks for having me.
So would you mind explaining what seems at first blush a very far-fetched idea that the U.S. code, as of right now, as of our speaking, would allow illegal aliens to vote in the upcoming presidential election? How would that work?
Yeah, well, True the Vote, the organization I founded some years ago, has been long involved in looking at the accuracy of the voter rolls. And we've long maintained that inaccurate voter rolls lead to inaccurate elections. So with that as a backdrop, we've been very concerned about the lack of availability to determine citizenship status, not just by groups like ours, but by states themselves. They can't get close enough to a citizenship status database to make good determinations. That then led me to look a little deeper because, as you rightly lay out, there's a motivation here. So what might that be? We've seen many, many videos of people coming across the border who are talking about their excitement about voting for Joe Biden and claiming that they are citizens. But yet, we hear debates in Congress where the congressman will say, don't worry, non-citizens can't vote. It's a crime of perjury. It's a felony. So, okay. We took a deep look at the criminal code, and Title 18 left us just gobsmacked. Because when you read all the way through it, as it lists all of the stipulations against non-citizen voting in federal elections, and lays out the penalties therefore, scroll all the way down to the fine print. And what you read is that non-citizens can vote without penalty if at the time they are voting, they believe themselves to be U.S. citizens.
Well, I mean, that seems insane. I mean, I'm taking your word for it. I'm not a lawyer or an expert in the federal code. But is there any other crime? Like if I can show that I didn't know I was robbing a liquor store, I had a gun in my hand, I was demanding money, but I didn't really think it was robbery, does that shield me from being prosecuted for robbing a liquor store?
No, certainly not. But I will say that this state of mind idea is something that we've come up against in the past related to domicile. As we've done reviews of the voter rolls and you see people that are registered, but they're registered to vacant lots, they're registered to fast food restaurants. And the press you get back from the state as well, but residency is a state of mind. This takes that to an entirely different level. And I'll tell you what I'm really concerned about, Tucker, is that when we lived through 2020 and we saw the landscape change, lawlessness take hold, we watched on the sidelines and said, surely this can't be what it looks like is happening. Surely this move to the mass mail of ballots and unmonitored drop boxes and third-party election workers that have no proper training to support all of the ebbs and flows of process, surely this can't be what's about to play out. And then when it did, you're left with scant few days to try to pick up the pieces and prove what really happened. I'm seeing this now play out in 2024 on this issue, much the same. And so it's my hope that we can awaken Americans to this problem.
And of course, that's what we're doing here at the Next News Network. And from Tucker's bombshell to the grassroots, watch how the revelation is sparking demands for immediate action across social media. Here's Chip Roy, passed the SAVE Act and voter ID.
And guarantee only citizens vote. It's an 80%. Hey everybody, it's Chip Roy from Texas 21, and behind me over here is the United States House of Representatives. We have twice passed the SAVE Act, a bill that I authored to require that only American citizens vote in American elections. Over here, you have the United States Senate. They blocked it the first time, and now they haven't brought it up for a vote. We believe the Senate ought to bring the SAVE Act up for a vote so that we can make sure that we retain the sovereignty of this country and guarantee only citizens vote. It's an 80% issue. The House, we should pull it up again, and we should add to it voter identification to require voter ID in federal elections. Call up the SAVE Act, add voter ID, and then send it over to the Senate. And the Senate should force Democrats to block passage of the SAVE Act on the floor of the Senate by requiring them to stand up and speak, what we call a talking filibuster, and make everybody do their job. Senate Republicans can force that if they'll do their job. The American people want their elections to be secure and their nation to be sovereign. It's time to act. Pass the SAVE Act, add voter ID, get it done.
Election integrity is a major issue that needs resolution ever since we saw what happened in 2020. Calls are getting louder, and now we're seeing why. Check out these explosive allegations from Michigan that are fueling the urgency. 17,000 dead people found in obituaries voted in Michigan 2020 presidential election. Voter fraud is occurring on a massive scale. This is why we need the SAVE Act, nuke the filibuster, and pass the SAVE Act. Buckle up, folks. Listen to this.
I witnessed personally. The following are only a few of the most egregious items witnessed. I was not allowed to perform my job, and from what I observed, were any of the GOP challengers in accordance with Michigan laws. We were constantly prevented from getting close enough to see what was going on with the respect to the ballots. Procedures were not being properly followed. When we brought these to the attention of the supervisors, our concerns were dismissed and ignored. We observed ballots being backdated from 11/4 to 11/2, and data being entered into the computers for these mail-in ballots. Poll workers were entering ballot information from new mail-in ballots, including dates of birth of 1/1/1900, into the electronic poll books and processing those ballots for tabulation. The information wasn't in either the electronic poll book or the paper supplement book prior to that. There's been lots and lots of reports after the election counting process. First of all, I did email a copy of what I'm reading from to each of the Republican senators and the House of Representative members. So I'd be happy to provide this to you. Dead people were voting. I sent a website to that effect, and the list that they had up to that date was 17,327 randomly checked Michigan voters that were registered for voting and were above the age of 80. Every name on this list has voted in the 2020 election. Check for yourself, and has also been found in one or more of the obituaries online. This is the most important election in my lifetime, and I think the most important election in the history of our republic. Every legislator, whether seated in the House or the Senate, whether Democrat...
You get the point, right? When House Republicans are this fired up, you know something big is brewing, and it's about to get some Republican senators on board. Congresswoman Kat Kamek requiring citizenship to vote isn't controversial. It's common sense. Senate Republicans need to pass the SAVE Act now.
Hey guys, Congresswoman Kat Kamak here. Busy Tuesday afternoon going through earmarks. But that's not what I want to talk to you about. I want to talk to you about the SAVE Act because today marks 285 days since the House of Representatives passed the SAVE Act. Now, the SAVE Act is common sense. It's not controversial. All it says is that you have to prove that you are a citizen in order to vote in federal elections. Now, this bill has already been passed out of the House, but now it goes to the Senate, and the Senate has been sitting on it. So please call your senators. Tell them to pass the SAVE Act. The integrity of our elections and subsequently the future of our country depend on it. In the meantime, I'm going to keep going through these earmarks. There's another set of them. And I will let you know what's in all these crazy bills that we're voting on this week.
Perfect timing because while Kamak demands Senate action, seeing Democrats panic in real time when confronted about the voter rolls. Of course, Minnesota AG Keith Ellison erupts in panic after the Trump DOJ asked for his state voter rolls to purge illegal aliens and other ineligibles. Of course he does.
Ask you, the judge seemed to focus on a couple of things, Pam Bondi's letter and also the president's social media post about a day of retribution. She appeared, especially talking about the Pam Bondi letter, she appeared critical. Is that the way you saw it, and do you think those two things are helping your case?
Let me just say, I think that the judge is incredibly bright and is focusing on the critical issues. I'm not sure what to conclude or based on her questions, but it appeared to me, and I got the sense that she understood the issues very well. And I'll just say on my own behalf that the Pam Bondi letter kind of reveals what this is all about. This is not about fraud, and it's not even about immigration, and it's certainly not about law enforcement. It's about handing over documents of the state of Minnesota, private information, including voting information, to the federal government. That's what this is about. And that's why we're fighting it.
Do you mind? Good luck, man. Good luck with that. When mainstream voices are asking basic questions, you know the momentum is building towards something bigger. Kevin Cork. Can anyone explain why an ID for voting is bad or why it hasn't passed yet? Okay, so yes, a valid ID is required when boarding a plane, cashing a check, purchasing tobacco, alcohol, hunting, fishing, purchasing medicine, marriage license, purchase firearm, hotel check-in. When it's not, voting for a federal election. A graphic there from the Congresswoman Mary Miller. And here's the bigger moment, our first major Senate breakthrough that's sending shockwaves through the Republican caucus. Scott Presser says, breaking, holy cow, Senator Todd Young, Republican from Indiana, has requested to sign on as a co-sponsor for the SAVE Act. Can everyone please stop what you're doing and thank Senator Young? This is huge. My team and I have reviewed the SAVE Act, introduced by Senator Mike Lee, and I have requested to be added as a co-sponsor. Election integrity is crucial to our democratic process and to ensuring free and fair elections. The praise certainly well received, or well deserved, because his move just opened the floodgates for more Senate Republicans to jump on board. Pancho Mancho Perez, good job. We need you as Speaker of the House, talking about Representative Anna Paulina Luna. And here she is talking about the SAVE Act.
Well, look, I actually think that this might be serendipitous in timing, and if I could explain for a moment. So what happens is when the appropriations are going to be rejected by Senate over DHS funding, ultimately that means that those appropriations bills have to come back to the House. And so I've actually formed an alliance with a handful of other Republican members that will refuse to vote on any legislation to send it over to the Senate unless there's something specifically placed in it and something called a rule that would prevent the Senate from stripping out the SAVE Act. So it would force them, if they choose to shut down the government, when they choose to reopen it, they will have to also then to simultaneously vote on the SAVE Act, which would basically save our country with election integrity. So we can play this game of chicken, but I do have a handful of Republicans that will stand with me very strong and ensure that this is done on behalf of the American people. So we're here to deliver.
Congresswoman, it's far past time for that delivery. And here's another inspiring Senate Republican to step up and demand Eric Doherty, says Senator Jim Risch, is pushing for Leader Thune to bring the SAVE Act to a vote on the floor, finally securing our elections against illegals. Good. We need every GOP senator to keep the pressure up. Pass this and win 2026. Let's listen. So we have Mike Lee, Cruz.
We've got to get this passed. I mean, it's pretty basic. You don't get to vote for the president or the prime minister of Canada, or the prime minister of England or France. If you're illegal, you don't get to register to vote in this country, and you don't get to vote in this country. So we've got to get this passed. We have to have a vote on it, and it's common sense. Hopefully, the Democrats will come on board. But if they're not, why aren't they? I mean, do they want illegals to vote? This is just common sense. So we've got to get this passed. But the first step is we got to get a vote. He's right.
The evidence keeps piling up. Here's Mike Collins. No room for excuses. Pass the SAVE Act. From Pakistan to California, these shocking discoveries are exactly why House leadership is now going public with the serious allegations. Election fraud exposed. California sheriff says their elections are being rigged. Your vote in California is being stolen by illegals, and they're not even hiding it. Sheriff investigators uncovered that people from Pakistan were voting in California elections.
The way the voting system is structured, we see quite a few flaws. You're able to register even and cast a vote if you don't live in the country, as evident of his brother in Pakistan. And I think we have some evidence of 2 or 3 other people out of the country that voted. Is that correct?
Yeah, approximately 2 or 3 other people out of the country, as well as people residing outside of the district.
Okay. The online voter registration system, it seems to be an honor system. Anybody can put information in there to register to vote. All you have to do is click a box and say that you're not lying, and then you'll get an email from the Secretary of State or something in the mail saying, thank you for registering to vote. And there you are. Once you're on the voter rolls, anytime an election comes around, guess what? You get mailed a ballot, right? You get mailed something to vote. So we found that a little bit problematic.
Oh, that makes it real easy, right? Makes perfect sense why you bring in millions of illegals into these states. Oh, yeah. And then you have the NGOs helping them, right? Oh, just go to this website. You can, if you want to vote, you can vote here. Just click this little box, and you're on the voter rolls. That's how easy it is. That's how the fraud continues. And now the perfect moment to catch the Democrats flip-flopping on the issue when pressed. House Majority Leader Steve Scalise says Democrat states like California are encouraging illegals to vote. We know there are illegals voting in a number of states. Frankly, many states like California encourage illegals. That's why the state SAVE Act is focused on. Caught on camera, Hakeem Jeffries denies calling the SAVE Act voter suppression, and then we roll the tape. Here is Allison Schuster, and she is with Hakeem Jeffries doing amazing work for Lindell TV. Let's check it out.
Leader Jeffries, you recently stated that requiring proof of citizenship to vote in elections is voter suppression. Can you explain how requiring proof of ID is voter suppression?
That's not a statement that I ever made.
You sure about that?
Then you should have brought the SAVE Act, which is a voter suppression bill that we strongly oppose, to the floor.
Busted right there. The final tweet puts America's unique situation into a global perspective. Take these 3 things away, and the Democrat Party will cease to exist.
The Democrat Party in this country ceases to exist as a viable political party without taxpayer money. They find a way to swindle it. Without the mass importation of foreign barbarians, and without election fraud. Without those 3 things, the Democrat Party becomes not a 50% party, a 20% party, 25%. The party has to go away. So when you understand that, you understand why they fight so hard to keep foreign barbarians here. Their entire existence disappears without the mass importation of foreign barbarians who will be given taxpayer money in various ways and then will vote for Democrats in various ways. So ICE surges into Minneapolis, surges into Minnesota. They start scarfing up foreigners. What happens? Here's what happens. Elite communists They want to cause disruptions. They want to cause all kinds of disorder out there. But they're, of course, not going to get their manicured fingers dirty. That's the elite communists. The street communists, it's their job to get their fingers dirty. Street communists are generally the true believers, almost always broken, miserable, pill-addicted criminals. Now, the bad part is, and it happened in Minnesota, fighting a war, fighting a revolution can be hazardous to your health. That woman died. She goes out, tries to run over a federal officer. That's going to get you killed about 99% of the time. Now she's gone. You communist street animals who watch the show and send in death threats, I'm coming for you, and all that other stuff you say, that's whatever, that's fine. But you should understand that they don't care about you. That woman who was just sent out to die, that revolutionary, you know they'll send you tomorrow. And then your daughter the next day, and your son the next day after that. And the people who are breaking your mind and your soul as you consume it on social media and you read the New York Times, and none of those people will lose a minute of sleep when you die for their cause. I hope you know that.
Oh, nice. Nice commentary there from Jesse Kelly. Sherry Unfiltered writes, voting requirements in democracies around the world. The United States is the only one that does not require voter ID. Most do not allow mail-in ballots. There can be only one reason not to pass the SAVE Act. Elon Musk says 2 things are necessary to stop fraud in elections. And he posts this visual ID that proves citizenship. 2 things necessary to stop fraud in elections. Visual ID that proves citizenship. In-person voting except for rare cases. Every major democracy has these requirements. So, look at that. Elon Musk posting the hard proof and pushing for the passage of the SAVE Act. All these nations require an ID to vote. India, Indonesia, Brazil, Japan, Mexico, Philippines, Germany, France, South Korea. Allows mail-in ballot. Not in India, not in Indonesia, not Brazil, not Japan, not Mexico, the Philippines, some in Germany and France, and certainly not in South Korea. So, the smoking gun is really Jeffries getting caught in the lie that he denied calling the SAVE Act voter suppression. Then immediately called it exactly that, a voter suppression bill we strongly oppose. That wasn't a slip of the tongue. That was the mask falling off. They know requiring citizenship proof would devastate their electoral strategy, so they will say anything to stop it. So here's the bottom line. We're watching the exposure of the biggest election security scandal in American history. Every other major democracy requires voter ID because it's common sense. The only reason to oppose proving citizenship before voting is if you're counting on non-citizens voting. Elon's chart proves that we are the global outlier, and not in a good way. The SAVE Act would fix this overnight, which is exactly why Democrats are panicking. They're not protecting democracy. They're protecting their ability to manipulate it. Do you think that requiring proof of citizenship to vote is basic common sense? Check out the Next News merch shop for gear that shows you're fighting for election integrity. All right. Moving right along here. Truthy Ruthie putting us over, man, $160.51 in Super Chats on this early show. How exciting. And we're going to be moving into our next topic. Everybody loves a little Sydney Sweeney in their life. And this one is a little bit softer in the news. Little palate cleanser, we like to call here at the Next News Network after all this hard and crazy news. But is it soft or is it something darker happening here? What's the message? We're going to get into that right now. Did Sydney Sweeney just turn Hollywood's most sacred landmark into her personal lingerie display rack? Well, millions of Americans saw the footage. Sydney Sweeney scaling the Hollywood sign in the dead of night, bras draped across one of the most famous landmarks in the world. Outrage erupted instantly, praise followed just as fast. Lawmakers threatened charges. The culture war did exactly what it was supposed to do, but here's the question nobody in media wants to ask. Did it actually happen? Because when you look closer at the story, things start falling apart real fast, and if the whole thing turns out to be fake, the joke isn't on Sydney Sweeney. The joke is on every single person who believed it without asking a single question. So think about what we're being asked to accept here. The Hollywood sign is one of the most sacred and secure landmarks in America. Cameras everywhere, motion sensors, fencing around the clock. Yes, the LAPD's there. So anyone who actually climbs that sign would either trigger law enforcement within minutes, and yet there's no arrest footage, no verified witnesses on the ground, no real-time video showing anyone actually making the climb. What we got instead were stylized clips with perfect lighting, impossible camera angles, and the telltale signs of something that was produced, not documented. The Hollywood Chamber of Commerce came out and said the stunt was not authorized. Media repeated the word illegal. Everyone reacted exactly as designed. But reacting is not the same as thinking. And if this was all manufactured, then we just watched millions of Americans get played by a lingerie commercial disguised as a crime. And of course, we are talking about Hollywood here. But if you're over 40 and planning to retire someday, the window to protect what you've built may be smaller than you realize. And here's a question most people never ask. Is your portfolio built for what's coming next? Many investors in their 40s and 50s discover they have little to no exposure to precious metals. That means their savings are largely tied to markets, policies, and paper assets with very little protection if conditions change. As retirement moves from someday to on the horizon, protecting what you've already built becomes just as important as growing it. That's where Noble Gold Investments comes in, helping investors reduce risk by adding physical gold to their portfolios. Right now may be a smart time to talk with Noble Gold Investments. No pressure, no sales gimmicks, just clear answers and a strategy built around your goals. Visit nextnewsgold.com. Build your portfolio for the long term. Nextnewsgold.com or call the number on the screen. Now here's where it gets funny. The outrage machine worked perfectly. ABC News ran with it. NBC ran with it. People online were ready to throw her in jail or crown her as a feminist icon, depending on which tribe they belong. Nobody stopped to ask the obvious questions. How did she get past the censors? Where's the security response? Why does every shot look like it was lit by a film crew? We are talking about Hollywood, after all. Community notes on social media started flagging the post. Users pointed to breakdowns showing how the footage could have been faked. Suddenly, the whole narrative started unraveling, but by then the damage was done. The headlines were written, and the brand got its publicity, and America got played. And what's to say this wasn't all done on a Hollywood soundstage? Sydney Sweeney films herself hanging bras off the iconic Hollywood sign. More details about the lingerie line. Last summer, it was reported that she was working on her lingerie line. It's been a huge project for her. ABC News, actress Sydney Sweeney may have landed herself in hot water after posting a video of herself scaling the Hollywood sign to promote her upcoming lingerie line. Sydney Sweeney, ABC News, covering it, confirming she's in hot water, but we're getting details about the massive corporate backing behind the publicity stunt. Apparently, she climbed the Hollywood sign, draped it in bras as part of a publicity campaign for her lingerie line Sim, backed by Jeff Bezos of Amazon. The Hollywood Chamber of Commerce is not amused. So here is, I guess this is some of the footage here.
Come on, up. Come on. Got it. Hi, Sally. Good boy.
start over here or there? You guys! I'm gonna get caught at this rate.
Give her a bra, give her a bra. Give her a bra.
Just for that.
Okay, there you go. There's the footage that's causing all the waves. That some of that stuff could have been filmed in a soundstage, but it really looks pretty organic to me. The Chamber of Commerce, who owns a sign, they're definitely not laughing, but some are calling this a feminist statement. Sydney Sweeney reclaimed her body from Hollywood, putting her new lingerie line on the Hollywood sign. Really? While supporters see empowerment, the officials who actually control the sign are speaking out. NBC News says the stunt was not authorized by the chamber, nor do we have prior knowledge of it, according to a statement that was issued Monday by Steve Neeson. Chamber of Commerce is furious, and now public backlash is building as people realize this is completely unauthorized. Hello Canada reacts to it. Sydney Sweeney is receiving public backlash for unauthorized publicity stunt. The actress and model climbed the Hollywood sign without permission and covered it in bras for her new lingerie company, leading to potential charges for vandalism and trespassing. And there she is, a picture of her climbing it. The mockery is spreading on social media, but the real story is about to get much more serious. Sydney Sweeney decorating Hollywood sign with hooter holders. Sydney Sweeney could face trespassing and vandalism charges over the Hollywood sign stunt. I'm sure she won't mind at all. The jokes are all over, but we're now looking at potential criminal charges, and this could end her career. Sydney Sweeney could face criminal charges for the bra stunt on a Hollywood sign. Legal trouble could be looming for her after her brazen lingerie stunt at the famous Hollywood sign. The video showed the actress sneaking up the LA mountain under the cover of darkness. And, of course, here is Sydney Sweeney in her underwear. But the final update confirms what legal experts feared. Sydney Sweeney is officially facing serious criminal charges that could land her in court. Now we're learning Sydney Sweeney might get in trouble on vandalism charges after climbing the sign to hang her bras and promoted our new lingerie brand. Her new brand, CERN, is coming soon. And there she is in some of her lingerie. Yeah, okay. All right, well, what do we know? I'll tell you this. This is what modern marketing looks like. All right? Don't commit the crime. Simulate it. Don't break the law. Imply you did. Don't risk jail, risk confusion, because in today's media environment, attention is the product. Outrage is the engine, and ambiguity is the accelerant. Sydney Sweeney's team, backed by Jeff Bezos and Amazon, may have just pulled off one of the most successful viral stunts in years. Not because it was real, but because it didn't have to be. People wanted to believe it, and that's enough. So the story is hilarious and terrifying at the same time. Hilarious because millions of people lost their minds over something that almost certainly never happened. Terrifying because it shows just how easy it is to manipulate the public when you control the visuals and the timing. Nobody verified anything. They just reacted. Outrage or applause, it didn't matter. The engagement was the goal, and everyone played their part perfectly. This wasn't a stunt. It was a test to see if reality still matters, a test to see if anyone bothers to ask questions before they share, comment, and take sides. Based on the results, the answer is no. Most people don't. They see something provocative and they run with it. But that's the world we live in now. Do you think the Sydney Sweeney Hollywood sign stunt was real or completely staged? Tell me in the comments, and check out the Next News merch shop in the description. All right. No more super chats to speak of. You guys really put us over the top today. So let's tie it all together, because what we witnessed tonight isn't just a collection of random stories. It's a complete picture of how power really operates in America, and more importantly, how that system is finally cracking apart. We started with a plane crash in Maine that killed anti-ICE lawyers, exposed signal networks coordinating violence against federal agents, and revealed how deep the resistance movement really runs. Then we moved to Minnesota, where Tim Walz, the same guy who let his state burn, suddenly became very cooperative with President Trump the moment real consequences appeared on the horizon. We examined a $19 billion fraud investigation that's about to expose how certain members of Congress have been laundering money through fake wineries and phantom businesses. We showed you how America stands completely alone among world democracies in refusing to require basic voter identification, while the SAVE Act gains unstoppable momentum. And then we close with Sydney Sweeney's Hollywood sign stunt. Did she actually climb the sign, or did millions of Americans just get played by a lingerie commercial? Every single one of these stories reveals the same fundamental truth. The establishment's control is disintegrating. From crashed planes to caved governors, from billion-dollar frauds to basic election security, from Hollywood stunts to government cover-ups, we're watching the systematic collapse of institutional credibility in real time. The people who've been running this country into the ground are discovering that their carefully constructed networks can't protect them anymore. When federal agents show up at your door, signal chats don't help. When DOGE investigators start pulling financial records, fake wineries get exposed. Election integrity becomes a national priority. The excuses about voter ID stop working. This brings us back to where we started. January 27th of 1973, the signing of the Paris Peace Accords. That document was supposed to end American involvement in Vietnam and bring lasting peace. Instead, it delivered broken promises, continued chaos, and a complete loss of public trust in government institutions. The parallels to today are impossible to ignore. We're watching another generation of Americans lose faith in their institutions, but this time something different is happening. This time people are fighting back. The mainstream media won't tell you any of this because they're part of the system that is failing. But here on the Raw feed, we'll keep bringing you the truth that they are desperate to hide. So before you go, grab some gear at the shop, support independent media that actually serves you instead of serving power. Thanks to everybody who contributed through these super chats and rumble rants. Your support makes this whole show possible. The establishment's time is up. The American people are awake. They're angry, and they are not backing down. I'm Gary Franchi. This has been the Raw Feed. We'll see you soon.